that has said he's not threatened and the plan to remove him from office does not intimidate him. Speaking in Mombasa, Haji said the law must be followed to ensure justice is served, further expressing outrage at the divisions in the investigations department.
The pen is mightier than the sword. Even when the sword apprehends, at the end of it, it is the pen that decides. It is the judiciary that will decide with a stroke of a pen. Hence, the pen is mightier than the sword. I may fall, but I assure you that the next DPP will come from amongst you. And I assure you that the next DPP, if I do fall at all, will come with more gusto to pick from where I've left. The pen has written, the ink has dried. We will not allow any clawbacks on this constitution.
Speaking at the launch of the National Justice Management Plan (NCAJ), Haji also urged all departments to adhere to their constitutional responsibilities.
This natural tension has in recent times expressed itself in unhealthy hostility, undercutting, and at times partners overstepping the boundaries of their constitutional mandate to attempt to take up the role of others. This ultimately obstructs the cause of justice, with some partners unwilling to subject or submit themselves to constitutional scrutiny and accountability by fellow partners within the NCAJ.
The DPP and DCI boss George Kinoti have been at loggerheads for some time now, with the ODPP accused of speeding up the process of taking cases to court even before investigations are complete, thus causing the cases to be delayed in court. Now, Deputy President William Ruto has asked the residents of Ukambani to back his presidential bid in next year's elections. The second in command told the region's electorate to embrace what he described as a visionary leadership and reject leaders who do not have their interest at heart. According to Ruto, the region and Kenyans in general have an opportunity in next year's votes to choose leaders who are keen to transform their livelihoods. Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muthui, has come to the defense of members of County Assembly, saying those aspiring for the seat should not be subjected to a university degree requirement. Muthui hailed the court for rejecting a demand that MCAs be holders of degree certificates, terming the requirement discriminatory. The Speaker was referring to a case that had been filed seeking to enforce the minimum education requirement for MCAs. The One Kenya Alliance principals are set to embark on what their allies have termed as a rigorous Meet the People tour to popularize the political alliance ahead of the naming of the outfit's flag bearer in the coming days. The alliance, bringing together Musalia Mudavadi of ANC, Kalonzo Musyoka of Wiper, Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya, and Gideon Moi of KANU, says it is eager to bolster its base across the country, with its first major inroads being Western Kenya and Central Kenya this weekend. The planned rallies and other activities lined up, they said, will confirm to their supporters and their rivals alike that indeed they will have a candidate to face off with Deputy President William Ruto and ODM leader Raila Odinga in a three-horse race. And security forces clashed with protesters furious over a military coup that has derailed Sudan's fragile transition to democracy and sparked an international outcry. At least one protester was killed, according to medics, on the fourth consecutive day of street violence in Khartoum, as the UN Security Council and US President Joe Biden called for restoration of the civilian-led government toppled by the army on Monday. The Council in a unanimously vote passed the statement, saying serious concern about the army power grab in the northeastern African nation, and urged all sides to engage in dialogue without preconditions. And South Africa's Quinton de Kock has apologized after refusing to take a knee and says he is not a racist. The wicket-keeper batsman made himself unavailable for the T20 World Cup against West Indies because he did not want to make the gesture. Some South Africa players, but not all, took a knee before the defeat by Australia in their T20 World Cup opener. De Kock scored 7. This is News Wire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas
young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law, and yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani Maternity Hospital?
Yeah, he
with
cleaned
his
it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he was cleaning. He cleaned it.
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
We're at the end of the week, and let's see what the roads are looking like today. It's already building up a little bit on Mombasa Road, and that's inbound city this morning. And Langata Road is also a thing this morning as we see it. Friday morning, and it's already started hot and heavy on Jogo Road, getting out into the city centre this morning. Other parts of the city are not actually moving that slowly. Good moves, good vibes through most parts of Nairobi today. Thika Super Highway is looking pretty good. No traffic there at all. We're looking at Ngong Road, free as air as well as Kiambu Road is coming into the city. Coming out of Westlands today for the first time in a long time. It's not piling up. It will though, and this is what we see, smack dab at the end of the month. And on a Friday, we're going to have a look at what it looks like in a short while. But for now, enjoy the free roads. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch with us this morning or text on 40127.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
City, remember that song?
What is that?
Song.
The song that he remembers.
Oh, he's the one he remembers. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. That is the one he remembers.
Which one do you remember?
I don't remember any.
You don't remember anything?
Yeah?
Bit of a tragedy.
It's Friday, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the 29th day. It's the last Friday of October. Next time we speak to you will be November.
And then we'll be, okay,
Just like that. Yeah? Then?
we'll be gone to the next year.
It's gone till November. Yeah. Remember to say that at 10.
At 10 we'll be gone till November.
Welcome to the show today, everybody. We're glad that you are tuned in wherever you are. Well, we're going to have some interesting conversations today. Just looking back into the week and looking into the weekend and what we expect to see. Very many things have happened this week. Very many things are expected to happen over the weekend. We just don't even know what could happen over the weekend. So keep it right here for many, many conversations. Now, when it comes to COVID, things are still happening in the country.
Yes.
And in the world.
Things are still happening in the country and the world. Let's start with what's happening in the world right now. And you would think that of lockdowns and things like that, that they were not existent. Well, a shock on us. There was still a lockdown in Uganda, and schools have not been in session for the last year. President Yoweri Museveni made an announcement yesterday that all schools then would open in January 2022. So there's been no in-person learning in Uganda at all.
For 2 years.
Yeah. So here you are thinking that the world is your oyster and your oyster is the world. It's not. Things are happening in other parts of the world. In fact, not far. Just here, your neighbor. And President Museveni says, all right, we are going to open, whether you're vaccinated or not. Now, if you get COVID, it's not because we didn't try to help you. It's on you. So, kids will be going back to school in January next year. Everything else will open up in January next year. But they're not going to do anything. Look, we've told you what to do. We've put the measures in place. If you want to follow, follow. You don't want to follow, us up to you. Don't come and tell us that we've been irresponsible now as a government. Ball is where? In your court. Right. Let's look at what's happening in other parts of the world. On the other side of the globe completely, Moscow shops and restaurants are shut in a new lockdown. The Russian government has now instituted another lockdown in the country, non-essential services, and sends workers home amidst record COVID deaths. What are we looking at? Only essential shops like supermarkets and pharmacies are allowed to open in the capital, while food outlets are only providing takeaways. They've also given workers across Russia 9 days off from Saturday in a bid to curb infections. Why is this happening? Because in one day alone, Russia recorded 1,159 deaths from COVID in 24 hours. We're not even talking about the reporting.
1,000 deaths.
Yeah, we're not talking about the reporting that may be over a couple of days. In 24 hours, as in people died in 24 hours. Official data shows that 40,096 new infections in 85 regions of Russia, which is another record. They had their last major lockdown in June last year. Overall, COVID death toll is officially more than 230,000, the highest in Europe and one of the highest in the world. And they said, you know what now? The way in which we are seeing things happening, vaccinations or not, is not a pretty picture. What are we going to do? Ka-ching, ching,
Wow.
lock it down.
Wow. Okay. Meanwhile, New Zealand, they went back into lockdown.
They did. They had hoped it would be the last when it was the last. I'm not sure how many cases they found, but I believe
Some
it was
80 new cases.
80, right? Or just under 100. And so they decided as well, look, you know what? We're not going to play with this. We had thought we're out of the woods, but not yet. So lock it down. And if patterns that we had seen previously, the neighboring countries or the neighboring regions, Tasmania, Australia, will probably go into the same. Remembering that Australia was in a 7-month lockdown from Christmas until July. And they had just started to open things up where they said, look, we're going to be able to live with this, so let's just see what we can do. Seeing neighbors do this will probably then give them a little bit of the jitters and say, we too must lock down. 80 new cases found in Kenya from a sample size of 4,188, a very low positivity rate of 1.9, 4 recorded deaths over the last 30 days, cumulative tests of 2.7 million. And we're also looking at vaccinations continuing in the country. Remember, we have 8 million. And so far, we've administered 5,153,667. C'est ça, voilà.
Okay. The vaccines are still available. Please just go and get yourself the vaccine jab wherever you can get it. You can choose. You don't even have to choose. Just go get a vaccine. There are several millions in the country already.
3 million available.
3 million
right
available. Yeah, please just go get yourself vaccinated. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. We are live streaming on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, as well as our website www.spicefm.co.ke. Let's take a break, see how the weather is going to look like today for the country and other parts of the world, and then we'll look at the newspaper headlines shortly. Are you online? Say hello.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, These guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
See, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has anybody ever that kind of? Has anybody been
Listen, I will not listen.
A bit of advice, because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
This morning in Nairobi, it will be clear at 15 degrees, highs of 26, and lows of 15 with rain showers expected in some parts at some point. And in Nakuru, clear conditions at 14, highs of 27 and lows of 14. It's mostly cloudy at 13 in Nyeri with highs of 25. We'll see lows of 13. Eldoret is clear at 11 with highs of 25. It'll come back down to lows of 11. And we're looking at mostly sunny conditions in Mombasa at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 24, while in Malindi this morning, partly sunny conditions at 27 with highs of 30. We'll see lows of 25. Kisumu is clear at 20, highs of 30 and lows of 19. And in Kakamega this morning, clear conditions at 16, highs of 30, back down to lows of 16. In Kampala, it's mostly clear at 19, highs of 28 and lows of 18. And we're looking at mostly sunny conditions in Dar es Salaam at 23 with highs of 30 this morning. In Lagos, mostly clear at 25 with highs of 32. And we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 12. In Johannesburg, it'll go to highs of 22. Kinshasa is clear at 24, highs of 31 and lows of 23. And we're looking at sunny conditions out in Beijing at 15, highs of 18 and lows of 6. In Paris, it's clear at 10, highs of 15 today. And London is clear at 15 with highs of 16. We'll see lows of 12. We'll round things out in New York. It's cloudy still Thursday night at 13. It'll go to highs of 15 and lows of 10.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right. So quite a number of people online this morning. Well done, Eric. Good morning. Tuned in from Europe. And that's where Chris Amolo is this morning. And this is Sir Haron. And he says Kisumu is tuned in as well. Moses Ouma tuned in from Oyugis. Okay. Kimi Lili, Kondani with a bang. Happy Friday with much love to you too, sir. Mwaura Kamone says, please invite that person who is very concerned about Oscar Sudi's educational papers to tell us why he's not talking about it at the beginning of President Kenyatta's tenure. Okay. Good morning. Sky says good morning now as well. Robert,
those are two very different discussions.
I think three.
Which one?
The papers. Why now? Why Sudi?
True. Okay.
I continue.
Yes.
Please, carry on.
All right. Nams Welisha says good morning, tuning from Mogadishu. And Juja Farm is where Stanley Ngash's Stan is. Kennedy Ogodo says, good morning, gentlemen and lady. We love you. Also listening from Oyugis. Jamal Nanja Kululu is watching this morning. And Daniel Jamhuri says, it's a feel-free Friday. Okay. Titus and Beta also tuned in this morning. Mwalimu Dominic Chariot says, good morning, as well as Chris Babake and Beidasi. We see all of you guys, all of you tuned in this morning. Asante sana for joining us.
Okay. Our Amlioto for today is Humphrey. He's a man who's manning our social media. Look at what he's posted. Read it.
Who?
You.
Ijuma.
Mm-hmm.
I go on.
Yes.
Tegea mazungumzo kuhusu taifa letu tukufu kwenye the situation. How did I do?
Super.
When I'm on the spot, I'm okay. But when I'm on the spot, I'm not okay. But when I'm free flowing, it's not a problem.
And not on the spot.
Yes.
Okay. So we've removed you from the spot.
No.
Now repeat it.
All eyes are still on me. I'm nervous.
Okay. Then let's shine the spotlight on CT. What is today's proverb?
Yes, our last day as we feature the final Turkana proverb for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Aelo a ngiputiro e jok noi kotere elose elogite.
Ekotite. Uh-huh.
Aelo a ngiputiro ejok noi kotere elose alogite. Okay. Since the warthog lives in the forest, they must make friendship with other animals.
Since the warthogs live in the forest, they must make friendship with other animals.
Yeah.
That's the one, the elogite.
Elokite is warthog.
Who knows?
I don't know, because I was thinking warthog. This ngiputiro must be the warthog.
The ngiputiro. And other animals?
Other animals, I think, are elogite. Somebody who understands the language.
Somebody who actually, and then turn these postulations of yours upside down.
I'm certain it will not even be turned upside down, inside out.
Thank you. Thank you for the proverb. Let's look at the papers. Standard e-paper, 20 bob daily. You get access to premium content on standardmedia.co.ke, including Sudoku, password, crosswords, password.
Passwords is
Crossword.
It's good.
And archives from the Standard Media. So the Standard e-paper. Chukua. What's in the paper? What are you looking at?
Uhuru's Pandora's box remains shut despite promises.
Right.
Okay. From contractual agreements with foreign countries to internal audits and now claims of the first family having stashed billions in offshore accounts, President Uhuru Kenyatta continues to keep Kenyans waiting on promises that he will address the burning issues. This is recorded in the Standard today on page 4. The president has vowed to ensure the public has access to reports that address various matters striking at the heart of the nation, but little information has been forthcoming. In the latest case, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalism published a report labeled Pandora's Papers that exposed the first family's vast wealth abroad and 13 secret offshore companies that have been in existence for decades. There was also the matter of approximately 3 billion shillings stashed away in offshore accounts. Following the leak early this month, President Kenyatta issued a statement through State House spokesperson Kanze Dena Mararo, where he appeared to welcome the report, saying that it would enhance financial transparency and openness in Kenya and globally. The movement of illicit funds, I quote, proceeds of crime and corruption thrives in an environment of secrecy and darkness. He added, the Pandora Papers and subsequent follow-up audits will lift that veil of secrecy and darkness for those who cannot explain their assets and wealth. He, however, did not address the report's claims on his family wealth, also only saying he would respond comprehensively on returning from his trips to the Americas. I believe he is back. He's been back for some time, right?
Yes.
Okay. So weeks later, he's yet to issue a comprehensive statement in response to the expose. Yesterday, Kanze said the president will issue a report in due time. He will do it. We will let the country know when the president will give the status report. So wait. But this article says this is not the first time that the head of state has made unfulfilled promises. In 2018, he ordered all public servants to undergo a compulsory lifestyle audit to account for their sources of wealth. Rocked by a state of financial scandals that had shaken the country, he also ordered that all heads of procurement and accounting units be vetted again. He said the vetting would include subjecting the officers to polygraph tests to determine their integrity. He offered to be the first leader to undergo the audit that sought to identify corrupt public officials, saying the lifestyle audits would address the misuse of public funds. He said public servants would be required to explain their sources of wealth to weed out those found to have plundered government funds. Apparently that has not happened yet. So,
and then they've listed all the other promises that
he's gone through many more promises that he said to have made and has not done. So this is another one that has been tacked on to the list.
Okay. Post-election violence victims fund promised the creation of a restorative justice fund in 2015 that was to be set up within 3 years, that is up to 2018, with the Treasury directed to inject 10 billion shillings into it. Idea remains on paper. During the 2013 election campaigns, President and his running mate William Ruto promised 9 stadia countrywide. 5 new stadia were to be completed within the first term. Okay, we know what happened. Lifestyle audits, we know what happened. Free laptops, we know what happened. Job creation, the government is yet to fulfill a promise of creating 1.3 million jobs annually. Food security, promising to put under irrigation at least 1 million acres in 5 years. This yet to be done. Several irrigation projects stalled, being embroiled in corruption scandals, or are yet to be completed. A food acquisition program that would mandate the government to buy 50% of its food requirements from smallholder farmers, yet to take off. Affordable electricity, we know what's happening. Ha! Hey? Okay. And this is the thing. The angle of this story basically is when you promise, come back and say, this is the progress.
Well, if you've not done anything at all, it's all right.
And I think that's where we need to start distinguishing. So, for example, the president's speech at on Madaraka Day, on Mashujaa Day, on Jamhuri Day, the president's speech when he's addressing Parliament with the State of the Nation, it's always the same. And I think it should be distinguished, where you come and say, there's a place where, for example, in the State of the Nation, you're coming and giving an audit, an account of what you've done in the last 1 year. This, I promised, I have not been able to fulfill it because of this, and the other. Don't just say we'll do steady and then the steady don't happen and you move on.
Then you come up with new promises.
Yeah, you come up with something else. Yeah, the Post-Election Violence Victims Fund, that was just a story. Now Raila picked it up the other day. He said he's going to make sure that there's a fund to resettle post-election violence victims.
Yes, he did.
And he also did say that he will make sure the judiciary gets adequate funding.
Yes. And what is adequate?
Those things we were talking about yesterday. With Honorable...
The Justice Mabea.
Yeah, Mabea.
You know, those figures have stuck in my mind.
Yeah, I couldn't really get away from that. So now you're asking what is adequate? That's adequate.
Now,
to get
those
this
figures
vehicle
have stuck
moving,
in my mind.
That's adequate. That's adequate. It's unbelievable. You're looking at 20 cases per day. You're working 8 hours a day in the office. You're working another 5 hours outside. And you're not even able to keep up. You're not even able to get there.
And you're
and it's not for want of expertise or skill.
The court he presides over has 6 judges.
Surely.
5,600 cases, which means you do the maths, 933.333 cases for each and every judge. And with new ones coming every day. When do you think they're actually going to? When? So when somebody says the slow progress, indeed, you can see why it is slow.
It's clear.
Yes.
It's clear. It's clear how it can also be slow.
Yes.
Why? So the president and his promises.
It's a big one here, guys.
Yeah. That's a big one. Ruth Odinga is explaining why there is voter apathy in Nyanza.
Okay.
She's the one who's coordinating new voter registration in Nyanza in page 6 of the Standard. She says residents of the 4 Nyanza counties, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Siaya, Migori, have lost hope in registering as voters because there are people there's a perception that's been created that ODM already has a list of preferred candidates who will be favored in the nominations. Residents of this region have told us that ODM has preferred candidates in the forthcoming party primaries and the general election. This is a recipe for voter registration apathy. They see no need of registering as voters. She says ODM supporters say some politicians are bragging that they have paved the way to secure the party ticket for various elective posts during nominations. I have presented views of the public, but my advice is that they should change their attitude and register as voters. Various dynamics. Why aren't you registering as voters? What for?
Do you know, it's something that I personally resonate with. The first 2 elections that were actually held in this country, when I was able to vote, I did not bother voting. And I remember being challenged. And I asked the person, do my rights only include my voting or does it also include my choosing not to vote?
So you're saying you're still in that age of rebellion?
It wasn't even rebellion.
It's that age of questioning too many things. Comrade power.
Yes, it was comrade power, but also I was looking, remember the era that we're talking about, and I was asking myself, so how exactly is my vote going to matter? Now, Why I changed my view was I realized, no, I was asking the wrong question. So my response was also going to be wrong. My participation has nothing to do with whether that one vote is going to change. No. In my mind, I realized participation is me getting involved in the process. And that involvement is what can bring about change. And with the time, I, should we say, metamorphosized and realized I was also in that league of people who used to complain about this isn't being done, they should have done this, they could have done that. I realized, no. I asked myself, what can I do? That's when I started getting involved in political discourse. Meaning I realized I can influence, I can participate at some level. So I took a keener interest in politics. Where before, I did not want to discuss politics, I was not interested in politics. So I got interested in political discourse.
It's interesting that you say that you had that at that time.
Yes.
But there are many who are having this conflict today. Who are saying, really, what does it matter if I'm involved or not? What does it count? How does my participation count? And I think having these conversations and having, this over time then gets people to that point where you got to, where you say, hold on a minute, I can actually make a point of being involved.
Yes.
And then you see the change come about. But it seems to be something that has to be organic. Can't be forced.
You have a member of parliament in a rural home. You don't know the person, you don't care. I said, no. I'm going to get to know these people. I'm going to get to know who my MCA is. I'm going to get to talk. Even before we had MCAs. So this is somebody I can actually talk to. In short, participation that eventually is manifested in your voting can begin earlier, and there's a lot more that you can actually do.
Indeed.
Yes.
Time for a break. 28 minutes to 7. How are the roads?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial star 550 star 1 hash to read the Standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
Okay, you know how we had that Tuesday? Well, it could be that Friday. And in this case, that Friday being that maybe traffic will not be too crazy. We're seeing it just starting to wake up in certain parts of the country, rather in the city. On Uhuru Highway, it doesn't look too bad at all, whereas by now it would have already packed up quite some. And it's not jacked off too far back on the Thika Superhighway this morning either. We're looking at it going then towards Survey, and then a little bit on Kiambu Road, but not too crazy right now. Coming out of Westlands is a breeze this morning, and you don't even have to use the Red Hill Link Road, at least not for now. So we're going to keep an eye on this and see what it opens up to be in a short while. But craziness is what we do not have, at least not for now. We're seeing some traffic coming off Jogo Road and getting into the city via Kamkunji, but Haile Selassie Avenue on the other side of things is free and clear as air. It's a good day, I think. Langata Road, however, trying to spoil the party. But we're going to keep an eye on this and see what it opens up into in a short while. SpiceFM KE is how you can talk to us on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
25 minutes to 7.
94.4 Spice FM.
The Nairobian, the Business Daily, the Nation. It's like you're the distributor.
Something like that. I am looking at an article that is the headline of the Business Daily. Airtel drags regulators into Safaricom battle. This By the way, it's not only in the Business Daily. Other dailies have also carried it. The gist of it is this. Airtel have gone to court claiming unfair practices from Safaricom.
Of course, yeah.
Yes, they're saying monopolistic, and the way they're going about their business, this is me paraphrasing.
Yep.
They're essentially strangleholding and pushing other people out of business. Okay? Now, in the US, they have something called antitrust laws that deal with such matters. Okay? A company is big to the point where people feel, no, this thing is now discouraging competition. Because competition is good. Okay? Do we have those laws in this country? And if they're there, are they powerful enough so that one can actually use them to ensure that there's what we call fair competition? We have the competition authority, don't we?
Yep.
Now, they are the sort of people who want to wade into this and find ways of explaining. Now, let me tell you why I find this an interesting discussion. This issue surrounding Safaricom did not just begin with Airtel. Remember, a while back, there are people who went to court over a simple matter and again blame Safaricom for using their data in other affairs without their consent. Okay? Now, the culprit was not even so much Safaricom. The culprit was, again, the absence of laws. We didn't, until very recently, have laws that protected the data of the Mwananchi in this country. Okay? That having been said, this is not uncommon when it comes to the business environment. Competition brings, in many, many ways, good services to those who seek it. If you look, for instance, at the playing field of, say, the telephonic enterprises in East Africa, you have Vodacom in Tanzania, okay? But the competition there is infinitely stiffer for them than it is here in Kenya. And the story goes on, and you can see this replicated elsewhere. But then, what I find sometimes a little confusing for me is it really wrong if a business seeks to find themselves or to put themselves in a position where they're the most powerful? See, this is what I'm waiting for the courts to unpack for me, because they're business. They want to make money.
I think the issue is,
yes,
when you have dominance, then now you start deploying some tactics that will be considered unfair. So, for example, this petition by Airtel to Parliament is saying, is raising concerns, for example, about the interconnection fees. You see, when you're calling from Safaricom to another network, and this is Airtel or Telcom in Kenya, how much is the charge? When someone is calling from this network to the next network, the interconnection fee, how much are you charging? And does that discourage users? Does that now make it more expensive for users? Okay, that's where the regulators come in. When you have dominance of a market, how are you playing to the disadvantage or advantage of others?
But you see, Eric, you've actually raised the question that I was raising in an even better way. Why should they put into place practices that favor their competition?
It's not practices that favor. That's where a regulator comes in. A regulator comes in to make sure that the playing field is level. That even whatever you're doing does not affect a consumer who is on the other side. And that's where the antitrust laws come in. So, for instance, they're saying, if you look at the other markets in Africa, some operators have been declared dominant. Just a declaration of a dominant operator means that then now we start looking at how you're doing your business. Because if you are big, and if you're the one who even determines how much the fees are going to be, that is unfair. We've seen that many times where a big player comes and they start undercutting the others by just reducing the fee. I can afford to actually make just 10 cents. 10 cents.
I'll be making
in my margin. I can afford to do that for a whole year. Well, a new entrant has to survive by making a shilling.
Yes.
So you're driven out of the market just by pricing wars. Now, if you're a dominant player and you're doing that, can it be monitored and saying, okay, wait, there's nothing that justifies you reducing your fee to this point? The only explanation here can be what you're trying to do is you're trying to kick this other person out of the market.
So you're saying essentially that the regulator plays some affirmative action position, where he says, we need this competition.
Yes.
And we understand what you're doing, but we can't have it.
We can't have it.
Because you're going to kill competition.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And this conversation about the telcos has been there for a while. It comes up. Remember, it was Telcom Kenya raising an issue the other time. It died down. Airtel has raised an issue before. It has died down. Now it's back with Airtel going to Parliament. Let's see. Is it going to die down? Is the Competition Authority going to do something? Is the Communication Authority going to do something?
But of significance, this discussion has to be broadened. Because, again, broaden that there needs to be clarity. When you talk about a level playing field, take the time and explain what it means so that it's understood. So that when someone is engaged in practices that go against the rules of a level playing field, one understands they're going against the rules of a level playing field. Because each and every of these telco companies we have in the country claim and tend to have the same products that, say, Safaricom has. Now, the choice is up to the subscriber to decide what it is that they want.
Yes.
Now, the way this argument is framed and the way it goes, it's like somebody uses unfair practices to leverage you into preferring their product as opposed to the others.
Yes.
And that's what makes it unfair.
Yes.
I could argue it's also unfair to Safaricom, because what stops the other company from trying to do what the other people are doing?
And who deems it unfair?
You see the question I'm raising? There's a lack of the discussion.
It's to the interest of the consumer. Competition Authority and all these other regulators should always look at the consumer. So you've come into the market. Are you forcing everybody to come to your product? So, for example, if we are saying Ndu Okoh is one telco and City Muga is one other telco, all right? So, to call from Ndu Okoh to City Muga is 4 bob. To call from City to Ndu is 10 bob. Now, obviously, it makes it very expensive for people who are subscribers of City Muga's telco to call the other people in this other line. So you're like, oh, okay, now because I have more people who I know who are on Ndu's network, I'm going to now have to buy Ndu's line so that I can be calling.
You know, the consumer resolve that problem if they can afford it. You end up with 2 lines. So you have one, and then you have the other. But I think the discussion, let us hear how the people who are supposed to be in charge of ensuring there's a level playing field.
Level the playing field.
Yes.
Indeed.
Let's wait and see.
Indeed. Okay. Let's do one before we take this break.
Okay. So the board has stopped 2.7 billion shillings that the IEBC had put towards in a tender. Okay? The board. The electoral agency is in a legal quagmire following vicious fights between multinationals over multi-billion shilling tenders for the supply of materials. The firms are eyeing the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission's 40 billion shillings budget for the 2022 general election. However, the Public Procurement Administrative Review Board yesterday stopped a 2.7 billion shilling tender for the printing of ballot papers that had been awarded to a Greek firm, Inform Lycos SA. Just days ago, the High Court had overturned the board's cancellation of a lucrative tender for purchase of ICT tools. The Greek firm won the tender on the 14th of October, beating Dubai-based Al Ghurair Printing and Publishing, which had the 2017 deal.
Al Ghurair, I remember them.
I remember them very well.
Remember them?
They did 2017.
Remember that? Okay. The board's order was prompted by a complaint filed by one of the interested bidders, Shailesh Patel, trading as Africa Infrastructure Development Company. It complained that the contract was won unfairly and was awarded unlawfully. It's a 3-year deal for supply of ballot papers, registration of voters, statutory election results declaration forms to be used in polling stations and election and referendum result declaration forms. Okay? Now, IEBC, according to this, contravened Article 227 of the Constitution by commencing and conducting the procurement proceedings in a manner that is unfair, inequitable and uncompetitive by providing that no joint ventures would be allowed. Talk about competition, which would otherwise have enabled bidders to augment their capacity and qualification. The aggrieved firm wants the tribunal to annul and set aside IEBC's verdict. Also sought is an order for termination of the procurement process. So the board now said this tender, stop it, because We have seen that there have been
that
some
people were
complaints.
complaining.
So let's just
Let's
hold on
hear
a little
them
bit
first.
and hear them.
Okay.
When we hear them and we deem that we can go on, we shall go on with the firm that has been awarded. If we see that there is just cause as to why this award should not go towards this Greek firm, we will stop it and start again.
Yes. Yes. Now you see why elections are expensive in Kenya.
Back and forth is an expensive affair alone.
Everybody looks at. So how much are we spending? When you hear that IEBC is asking for a budget of 300 million shillings or 3.5 billion shillings, just know that there's somebody who wants to take that 3.5 billion shillings.
Yes.
It means that you're paying someone to do one thing or the other. In fact, City, our trucks, we need to distribute ballot material.
I think what we need to do before we do that currently is refurbish them, because there's something that has come out of Kitui which I particularly liked. It is reported that the governor did a little research. Well, she didn't, but the research has been done that when cows actually walk to the abattoir, they lose up to 20% of their weight.
Yes.
Normally happens when you exercise.
Yes. So, isn't it just so? Yes. So, she has come up with trucks that actually ferry cattle to the... Yes. So, why don't we look into that business first and transport?
If this IEBC
She launched
transportation might not work.
several trucks. In fact, we forgot to discuss that story a couple of weeks back.
Yes, she did. She did.
She was launching trucks for taking cattle to the market.
Yes. So I'm saying those trucks that we have, let's just find out what needs to be done. Let's transport cattle first. Okay? Because transport is transport. Whether it is cow, ballot box, it's just transport. So let's go into something that can work currently. And then we'll see if that one works. And then
we talk to IEBC.
We can talk to IEBC and see if they can't contract us to also deliver ballot papers.
And you see what has happened to people who talk to IEBC? The people who talk to IEBC, their tender has been cancelled. Stay there.
13 minutes to 7. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
On your march. The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon is back. Virtual marathon and elite marathon. Sign up for the virtual race at 1,000 shillings only and run from wherever you are or from select hotspots around Nairobi. To register, visit www.nairobimarathon.com. Choose your preferred distance from 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 21 kilometers, or 42 kilometers, and decide the day you will run between 25th and 31st October 2021. To track your run, download and use the Strava app. When you register, you will receive a race kit that includes a shirt, medal, and bag. Kits will be collected at either KICC or at selected hotspots. All proceeds from the marathon go to help young people learn, earn, and grow through our Future Makers program. Join us and let us run as one. Standard Group are proud to be the official media partners of the Stand Chart Marathon 2021.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
This conversation about DCI, DPP, it continues. So, there's an institution called the National Council on Administration of Justice, right?
Mhm.
National Council on what?
Administration of Justice.
Administrative Justice.
At EO.
NCAJ. They have been meeting at the coast. The NCAJ brings together the Judiciary, the Office of the Chief Justice, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, the Director of Public Prosecution, and others who are involved in that entire chain of administration of justice. So during the meeting yesterday, the DPP had an opportunity to speak to the delegates. He has alleged a plot to kick him out of office by a clique in the government trying to usurp his constitutional mandate. In a clear sign of an escalation of the supremacy wars in the criminal justice system, Mr. Haji yesterday said he had not given to demands of those thinking I don't know the law. Giving an analogy of the donkey and the tiger on the difference of the color of grass, the DPP likened those criticizing him to the donkey that insists the grass is blue, while everybody else knows the grass is green.
Okay.
But the job that the DPP has
is for blue grass.
Not only that, it can't be, and it will never be a popularity contest.
However, he's saying it's not about even being popular. There's a scheme that has been hatched by some people in government to reduce the powers of the DPP and redistribute them. Start with the DCI, then maybe the others will go elsewhere.
New, by the way.
I don't want to be the donkey. We all know the grass is green. I may fall, but I can assure you the next DPP who will come from amongst you will come with much gusto to pick up from where I'll have left. You see how he sounds like? I may fall, but I can assure you. He's feeling the pressure. He's feeling the heat. Up to a point where he stands up at such an important convention and says, this is happening. I may be removed from office. But even if I leave this office, even if I go, the person who comes will still fight the way I was fighting. He was speaking in Mombasa during this meeting. He said, the pen has written and the ink has dried. We will not allow anybody to mutilate this constitution. Where?
You know I mentioned the popularity contest, yeah? There are some jobs that the very nature of it is adversarial. It is not you who is adversarial. If your job is to prosecute wrong in a country where people celebrate wrong and people go out of their way to practice wrong, it's not an uphill task, my friend. Huh? You're fighting gravity. Because everything that you do is not against the wrong itself, but it's against the will and the thinking of the people in your country who don't seem to think that so long as certain people do certain things, it is not wrong. Or at least it's not so wrong. And here you are saying, actually, no, it is wrong. And not because I think so. The law states this and this and this and this and this. There was a time when we were a totalitarian state. Even the job of being Attorney General was tricky. Because you are an advisor to the president or to the government.
Yes.
And that advice, let me put it this way. You only need to look at the turnover of AGs that we had to tell you.
That advice and the job can best be described by what the late Evans Munari used to say. If I want your opinion, I'll give it to you.
If I want yours, I'll give it to you.
As an AG,
yes.
I want your advice.
Yes,
I'll give it to you. Yes.
So it can't be. Look at the pressure that the judiciary has been under. Look at the narratives that have been spread about the inefficiency and the way that they're a bottleneck. It's been said so often until it sounded like, these are the guys who are preventing.
Yes. Huh? They're asking for money. What have they done with the money that they have?
Yes. Let them tell us. Now, somebody comes and explains and says, look, this is how it is. This is what we do. Isn't it always important to actually ask a goose why it lays the sort of eggs that it does, even if they're not golden? The goose is that lays eggs. It'll know and it'll tell you. So here we are. We have a DPP who, a DPP with a new constitution.
Yes.
A DPP.
He's a second with this constitution, though.
With the tenure. Yeah.
Well, this is a DPP, in my view, reading of this, who has enjoyed, remember those winds in the coast? There's the southerly winds, and the others are what? The northerly winds.
Yes.
The Kusi and the Kaskazi.
Yes.
So during the Kusi winds, man was enjoying the wind. It was blowing him towards the East African coast.
Now.
He has not realized that the winds have changed. It's now Kaskazi. He's complaining.
But you've enjoyed. You enjoyed.
He's been having it easy. I mean, not easy really, but he's been having support from the same quarters that he's saying have now turned against him. That's why he's wondering, but people, you guys.
But let me.
But all these times, those questions are important. Even for the DCI, the questions that need to be asked ought to be asked. Are we getting quality investigations? Number one. Are we getting quality prosecution? Number two.
Is justice being delivered?
Respond to those. And then the rest, you can now say, this is what is happening to the cases that I'm handling. This is the success rate. This is the progress of the cases. This is how fast I've been able to move the cases through. This is the number of times that I've not gone to seek adjournments.
Or this is the challenge that I've had.
Yes.
Even just simple as that. These are the challenges that we are facing. But doesn't come out. It doesn't come out.
You know something? Jobs that people take, they accept. It's the baby and the bathwater.
Bas.
And the basin. All three. Baby, bathwater, basin. That's it.
That's it. He says, as I just conclude on this one, I have fought very many battles, including going to Somalia to fight Al-Shabaab, and I've come back victorious. I will still win this one. The fruits and benefits of the Constitution are right here, and today, the women and members of the minority group are right here. He says, at times, partners overstep the boundaries of their constitutional mandate as they tend to take up the role of others. This ultimately obstructs the cause of justice, with some partners unwilling to subject or submit themselves to constitutional scrutiny and accountability. You know who the partner he's referring to is.
We have a fairly clear idea. I have good news for you. Closed sections of Uhuru Highway to reopen today.
Today is not 30th.
Today is 29th.
See, why don't I just read the article?
Read.
Okay.
Which one is Uhuru Highway? This one, okay.
Kenya is set to gradually open closed sections of Uhuru Highway as the Nairobi Expressway advances. This is in the Star on page 16. Westlands James Gishuru section will be opened on Friday, today. Half of the newly built road from Westlands to James Gishuru has been opened to facilitate completion of works on the other half by the end of October. Ndungu says. Okay?
Who's Ndungu?
Kumu Ndungu is the Director General.
Okay.
Okay. Haile Selassie University Way roundabouts are set to be opened on December 15th once construction works are done. Okay? Kenya set up diversion ways at the Haile Selassie roundabout and University of Nairobi roundabout to pave way for the construction. Closed sections between Lolongo and JKI have already been opened to ease traffic.
If that one is true, I testify.
The new footbridge at General Motors has also been partly opened as the old bridge is still being pulled down. Now, Kenya has warned motorists of traffic congestion around GM and Bunyala roundabouts to University Way where construction is ongoing.
They've warned us now, but it's been the traffic has been there for the last 3 weeks. They're warning you now about the past.
Yeah.
Okay, Sawa, it's good.
Okay.
It's good.
Have you had the warning?
Sawa, yes.
Okay. Motorists are urged to exercise caution and road courtesy while driving, as that will help manage traffic better, Ndungu said. Ndungu is saying many things. Okay. The final touches are underway to complete the operation of the monitoring center for the Nairobi Expressway. Is that not good news?
It is very, very good news. So when are they opening that section again?
Today.
My friends, they said that they will open. Okay, in fact. So it has changed. Because they said they'll open Westlands James Gishuru on October 30th.
Today.
Previously, they had said they'd open that section on September 30th.
Eric.
You know, it's that saying in advance of time. So you can even say, we said we'd open on 30th, but we open on 29th.
Sometime in September, they were to open that section that at Museum Hill Interchange. Coming from Westlands.
Specifically.
Yes. Coming from Westlands, getting into the Museum Interchange, that part was going to be opened. Nowhere near completed.
Yes.
They said that they've already opened the section between Haile Selassie and University Way.
That thing not opened.
Haile Selassie to University Way, you get into Uhuru Farm, not even Uhuru Park.
When you get to
Uhuru Mud Farm.
And potholes. By the way,
Mud and potholes
yes,
farm.
yes.
Okay,
just so that we are clear, they're also saying that 68.4% of this particular expressway is complete.
Good. It keeps changing. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation at 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. One Kenya Alliance leaders, Musalia Mudavadi of ANC, Gideon Moi of KANU, and Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya, are expected to embark on a two-day campaign in Kakamega County. The meeting comes at a time when Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala acknowledged plans to register another coalition by the name Kenya First. He says this stemmed from the need to have alternative names following the possibility of the One Kenya Alliance name being registered by another group. The statement was backed by ANC Deputy Leader Ayub Savula, who has opposed the notion that the move stems from lack of leadership. Oka is said to have been hampered by the fact that the name Oka has been registered with Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka's wing, while the alternative coalition is expected to target other presidential candidates including Professor Kivutha Kibwana, Mokesa Gitui and Speaker Justin Muthui. Some of Kalonzo Musyoka's supporters have admitted pressure for Kalonzo to support Raila Odinga, with Malala stressing that at the moment there is need for Raila Odinga to support his fellow leaders. According to Malala, the leaders of the One Kenya Alliance affiliates are expected to announce the future of Oka today, as well as provide dates for various important steps if it is to announce a presidential candidate. Public meetings are expected to be held in Hayega and Chavakali areas. Now, Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muthui, has come to the defense of members of County Assembly, saying those aspiring for the seat should not be subjected to a university degree requirement. Muthui hailed the courts for rejecting a demand that MCAs be holders of degree certificates, terming the requirement discriminatory. The Speaker was referring to a case that had been filed seeking to enforce the minimum education requirement for MCAs. Inmates in the country's penal institutions now want to be allowed to fully participate in elections. Under the current law, the inmates only vote for the presidential candidate, locking them out of picking other aspirants in the other seats. In 2013, the High Court termed as illegal the move to block inmates from voting, paving way for the participation in the 2017 general elections. This came as the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission moved into the country's largest penal institution, Naivasha GK prison, to register fresh inmates. Governor Jackson Mandago has banned the National Cohesion and Integration Commission and other peace groups from holding meetings in Uasin Gishu County without his approval. The county boss claimed that some of the peace groups working in the region were actually inciting residents instead of concentrating on the real peace efforts. He said his office and that of the area county commissioner must approve and be involved in all meetings going on ahead of the polls. Now, Kenyan youth have been urged to exercise sobriety and act as promoters of peace and unity as the country approaches the electioneering period. Government spokesperson Colonel Cyrus Oguna noted with dismay that many of the turmoil, displacement and destruction of properties witnessed during campaign seasons are caused by uncaring politicians who use desperate youth as pawns to achieve their own selfish gains. Speaking during a youth empowerment forum attended by more than 100 participants at the Mogocho Deputy County Commissioner's office grounds, Colonel Oguna advised the youth not to accept small handouts from unscrupulous politicians to cause violence or mayhem of whatever nature. A group of young people in the slums of Kipsongo in Trans Nzoia County who have been involved in various crimes including armed robbery have decided to change their ways and have a different outlook in life. The more than 80 youths have formed a group, Kipsongo Youth Umbrella, whose main role is to collect garbage at a minimum fee, which they invest in legitimate business. Together with the ladies who have been engaging in prostitution in the area, they say that the garbage collection venture has enabled them to take loans and invest in their vegetable businesses. Now, Facebook has changed its corporate name to Meta as part of a major rebrand. The company said it would better encompass what it does as it broadens its reach beyond social media into areas like virtual reality. The change does not apply to its individual platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, only the parent company that owns them. The move follows a series of negative stories about Facebook based on documents leaked by an ex-employee. Francis Haugen has accused the company of putting profits over safety. In 2015, Google reconstructed its company, calling its parent firm Alphabet. However, the name has not caught on. And Nigeria's Stallion Sevens and Uganda landed in the country yesterday ahead of the Safari Sevens campaign at Nyayo National Stadium. Other teams gracing the event include Spain, Zimbabwe and Germany, with tricky matches in the pools announced by the Kenya Rugby Union on Wednesday. The former champions have been drawn against giants Germany, Zimbabwe and first-timer Stallion Sevens from Nigeria in Pool A. Shujaa Shujaa won the annual international tournament in 2000, 2013 and 2016. The women's tournament has attracted 5 teams and will be played on a round-robin basis. Kenya will field 2 teams with Zimbabwe, Uganda and South Africa's Titans Rugby Academy rounding off the field. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
A snap of the wrist and a blink of the eye, and there's traffic on Uhuru Highway already. It was clear before, but clearly we're in traffic hour early today, all the way from the Bunyala Road roundabout through to Haile Selassie, and then onwards out through towards the University Way roundabout and then on towards Westlands. We're seeing quite a lot of traffic has started this morning. Don't forget you can use the Red Hill Link Road if you're coming off of that Muthangari area, which again has piled up at this point. Ngong Road is also building up. I guess it was a sleepy wake to the morning, and it's now when everybody is up and about. Looks like then it will then be that Friday. Jogo Road then out towards Landis Road, and the roundabout at Kamkunji is also taking a big hit from traffic this morning, as is the Thika Superhighway now. Backed up to Survey and the drive-in. And Kiambu Road now is awake. Just in case you're going to get out by the skin of your teeth, sorry, because now traffic has piled up there. We're also looking at traffic in that whole Parklands area getting into the CBD this morning. Shall we keep an eye on things this Friday? Let's do that. Talk to us on SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Let's chat on text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
It is 7 minutes after 7 on the 29th day of October 2021. Kenya's biggest conversation enters the second hour. And C.T. Muga has the day's proverb.
Yes. Aelo, a, ngiputiro, ejok noi, kotere elose, elogite. Now, I don't want any of those comments.
Is that the first one that you said before?
See, I knew.
I'm just asking.
I can see Aelo and Ejokite.
By the time I recited for the third time, I'm going to say, City, you've changed it. Yeah. It's not what you said the first. Listen carefully, please. Pay attention. Aelo. Don't say I didn't say Aelo the first time. A, as in A. Ngiputiro. Ejok. Noi. Kotere. Elose. Alogite.
Okay.
You know what? Somebody has said Ngiri is warthog in Swahili. Turkana is a Bantu language. Is it?
No.
It's Turkana Bantu?
No.
It's not.
No. The Nilotic.
Okay, so there may be no correlation here at all. But he said warthog in Swahili is Ngiri.
Yes.
Ngite is dog in Kamba. I don't know if there will be any connection there.
This is good.
Yep.
We're learning.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then in Turkana, it's Aero.
Okay. No connection whatsoever. Carry
or
on.
Elongite. What?
Could be Elongite.
Could be the what? But there is what? Read again. Aelo.
Aelo. You know, you guys want to translate it this thing. Languages don't quite work that way. But anyway, Aelo. Gi. Putiro.
That's the one. That's the warthog.
Ipiro.
Ngiputiro.
All right.
Sounds like Ngiri.
All right. Okay. Since the warthog lives in the forest, so forest is what here?
Ilo.
Okay. They must make friendship with other animals. And so friendship, what is friendship here? have done my bit. I'm not going to be a pathfinder for
up.
who are lost.
I give up. I give up.
This man is
I give up. I give up. You know, it's Friday, and as we conclude this month of October in the Situation Room, let's conclude it by actually celebrating one of our own, Kenyan, Humphrey Kayange, who was inducted into the World Rugby Hall of Fame. It was a good thing. Well, it was done virtually, and the conversation here was, why Humphrey Kayange? What has he done? How has he contributed to rugby in his country, Kenya, in Africa, in the world? Humphrey Kayange has played rugby for many years, over a decade in Kenya. Humphrey Kayange was, in the teams that participated in the 7 series, the World Rugby 7 series, right? Humphrey Kayange was a captain of the Kenya Sevens. Humphrey Kayange was a captain when Kenya won its first round of the Sevens in Singapore. He was part of the team that was campaigning for the Sevens to be returned to the Olympics. He was actually among the bidders, the bidding team that went to campaign before the IOC for the Sevens to be returned to the Olympic Games. And he played in the Olympic Games. So there are very many things that, Humphrey Kayange has done. We know him, yes. We know Humphrey Kayange. We also know his brother. What's his brother's name?
Collins Injera.
And Collins Injera is among the first to do what?
To hit 100 tries.
Yes.
Yes.
These two brothers have done a lot for rugby. So when he's inducted into the Hall of Fame, this is something that is big.
You want to ask yourself the simple question, how many other Africans do you know of who are in that Hall of Fame?
Exactly.
It's not as though they look for the most unlikely person.
Slap them in there.
No.
The tallest.
No. There's a criteria that is used, and believe me, by the time you're inducted, they have looked and they've decided this person has not just contributed to the sport, but they've been an outstanding ambassador for this sport, in the way they present themselves, the persons that they are, and in the way they've played the game.
It was a big honor to see him there. Then also remember, as we were watching the Olympics, during the closing ceremony of the Olympics, they introduced the new members of, what's that organ in the Olympics? Like a top decision-making organ in the Olympics, fraternity. And Humphrey Kayange is there. He is the first rugby player to actually join this particular organ.
The IOC, International Olympic Committee.
Yes. There's a committee there of the IOC. He is there. He's a man who's done very many things, but not really, highlighted so glowingly in the country. But it's a lot that he has done. So Humphrey Kayange inducted in the Hall of Fame. Now, if you look at Humphrey Kayange, let's not forget that in the same month of October, just a couple of days before Humphrey Kayange had been inducted into the Hall of Fame, Eliud Kipchoge had been crowned as the best male athlete of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. All those people who were in Tokyo for the Olympics,
all those countries that
were represented, Eliud Kipchoge emerged as the best male athlete of the Olympics. Now, this is another Kenyan, another Olympian being feted outside the country. Do we feel that celebration of our own out there? Do we celebrate them as much in here? Is it too much work?
Is it too much work, or is it just not on the list of priorities?
Is it among the things that we're just used to?
I know that there's that whole saying that a prophet is not known in his own country. Sure, that's understood, and all of that, the whole rhetoric behind that. But some of the athletes that you see celebrated on the world stage, let's be very honest, that they are celebrated in their countries big time. Let's just name a few, right? Because you see Humphrey Kayange today, and the way Kenyans are celebrating him today, it's the same things that Americans do with the Michael Jordan. It's the same thing that Brazilians did with Pele. It's the same thing that you had the Kiwis do with Lomo. Same thing. But what are they doing that at home, they celebrate them to the point that you, the rest of the world, if you don't want to celebrate them, guess what? They're already known on a global stage because we've made so much noise about them. And they have actually become not just ambassadors for their sport or their area of expertise, but they're ambassadors for the country. And I keep saying this thing, that there is so much. Let's just say that you don't even care about the individual and you want to be selfish in this, that there is so much that this position can do for you as a nation by celebrating these individuals. Why wait until they meet a demise? Knock on wood. Why wait until that moment before you decide to do something about it? Why wait? Today, as they're meeting these, they're making these accolades, as they're achieving these goals, as they are known on a global scale, what prevents you from celebrating them? What prevents you from putting them in a strategic position then to put forth or to make your country known? Why? So I dare say it doesn't look like if World Rugby Body did not talk about this, when is the last time you heard them talking about these individuals?
You know,
as Kenyans.
Do you raise a very important point? Because if you look at the names that you typically assume would be Kenyans representing other countries around the world, starting with Bahrain, going to Europe, going to the US, you look and you marvel. The only thing that it reminds me of sometimes is the number, again, this sport of rugby, where you find people come from some of those Pacific islands, playing for New Zealand, playing for Australia, playing for the UK, playing for these rugby playing nations. Why? Because it's something they're very, very good at. They've taken time. Now, this is something we are really, 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 really good at. No, let me rephrase it. This is something that the athletes who excel in make us appear to be really, really, really good at. Okay? As Kenyans. Even if 500 meters, running 500 meters is a challenge. This, we talk about brain drain, okay? Talent drain. Why do you think there has been that increase of athletes seeking to not only represent those countries, but actually being citizens of those other countries? Why?
City, as you say that, I remember during the Olympics, just these ones that just concluded Olympics, there was a race, I believe it was the 10,000 men. All of the athletes on the podium were Kenyans. But
they were not.
One was representing the United States, another one was representing Uganda, and another one then was representing Kenya. But they were all Kenyans.
Well, the Ugandan is not. Huh? The Ugandan is Ugandan.
Representing Kenya.
Yeah, given our borders and what have you, that's a Ugandan.
Let's just call him a Ugandan. Okay.
But then there's American.
Oh, no, the point you made is a valid one.
You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So they were all Kenyans on that podium, but then they were not Kenyans who got that record. So you have to ask yourself, why are people leaving? Why are people leaving? And again, you ask the question, so these athletes who are known on a global scale that you make noise about, that you buy their shoes and you buy their sports apparel, who made them great? Their countries began the conversation. Their countries began the praise. Their countries decided to call them heroes before anybody else joined the party. But here you are and you're saying, all right, we have some great people, but we're not going to talk about them. Other bodies have to recognize them before now you jump on that bandwagon and say, actually, you know what? This is actually quite wonderful. Why?
Okay.
Why?
Let's balance the fairness, though. Okay? All these athletes that we're talking about have been honored in one way or the other in the country. Just the other day on Mashujaa Day, the president honored Kenyan artists, Kenyan athletes, and other prominent Kenyans. Just, whatever kind of recognition they got recognition. Humphrey Kayange has a recognition. He is an OGW.
He is.
Yeah, a holder of the Order of the Golden Warrior. He's received that. So that means that his contribution to Kenya's sport has been recognized
quite significantly
by the government of Kenya. It's only that he's not gotten the high ones, he's not gotten into the Golden Hearts and others, but he has received something. He has been recognized. Maybe the question then is, are we not recognizing them enough, or what is the issue? Is it that we're not giving them as high an accolade as they are receiving? When somebody is celebrated by being given the Hall of Fame, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, we're saying there should have been something that high that he received first in Kenya before he got that.
No, No, Eric, I think I'm going beyond that, because for me it's not even about the color and the pomp and circumstance. I think all of that it comes as an end result. You know, it comes as a byproduct. I'm going way before that process, and I'm saying, if there was that nurturing and if there was that support and then there was that framework that has already been set up to say that these individuals in these different disciplines could actually be much more than we're supporting them for.
Like what?
So, I mean, we've talked about it. I think we even talked it a couple of weeks ago when we say, okay, are we starting from the very beginning and saying that our athletes are not just people who are performing in things that we can watch as by the way when we're done with our main job? That it could be actually something that contributes directly to the whole pie of this country, or of any country for that matter, that it holds just as important a position as anything else does. So are we seeing that support from the very beginning? Dare say that a lot of these individuals who get to this point is through their singular hard work. Majority, right? Of course, I mean, I will not take away from the fact that, you have unions and that you have a government participation here and there, but if we're looking
there's been facilitation that has ensured that they participate in the World 7 Series.
I'm not. That's what I'm saying. I will not take away the credit that goes to the support, because that has been there.
Yeah.
But the majority of this has been that, okay, you find out that you're playing in high school and you can actually be good at this thing. Then you go and then you push and then you try, right? Now, I'm saying that if there was that, it is clear that these are institutions, or this is support, or this is structural framework that's already been set up from the very beginning. What you do is that you guarantee now these things that you see later. That you will not then have to, it would not be an aha moment or a surprise moment when Hall of Fame calls up are happening, or that World Athletics is now honoring your people. It wouldn't be a surprise because you've also fed into that narrative from the very beginning, and that's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm wondering. And I hear what you're saying. I'm just posing that question. Are we being too harsh on ourselves? Look at Humphrey Hayange. Humphrey Hayange has been recognized locally. Humphrey Hayange was recognized. He was given the captaincy of the Sevens. Humphrey Hayange, when they came back after winning Singapore, they were hosted by the president. They were like, yes, guys, you've done so well. Hosted by the president. They were recognized. Humphrey Hayange, even beyond that, has been called upon to participate in conversations in the sports ministry. So that is in that recognition. Because beyond that, what more would we do for everybody? There are individuals, for example, look at Paul Tergat. Paul Tergat, 5-time world cross-country champion. Paul Tergat, a big name globally. Paul Tergat, a senior army man locally. But what is Paul Tergat today? Tergat today has been honored by being made the leader of the IOC, Kenya National Olympic Committee. Is led by Paul Tergat. If the sports conversations in athletics, Paul Tergat's voice is listened to. Yeah? What more?
So you think it's enough?
I'm not saying it's enough. I'm just wondering. So what
else should be done?
Are we being too harsh on ourselves? Because you see, we do this all the time. So yes, the World Rugby Fraternity has inducted Humphrey Hayange into the Hall of Fame. When we turn back and you're like, but you see here, we don't even recognize them locally. Wangari Maathai is feted by the world and given the Nobel Peace Prize. Oh, but you see, we didn't even recognize her locally.
In fact, we used to beat her
we used to beat her here. We used to clobber her. She was only an assistant minister.
Was that our way of recognizing her?
Yeah. Was the fact that the people of Teto had elected her to parliament recognition? Was the fact that Mwai Kibaki had made her an assistant minister recognition? Or do we say that if the world is seeing this as a very big person, then she should also have been the minister in charge of environment in the country?
Exactly.
Or we're saying that she should have, in fact, have been the vice president?
Eric, both. You know why? You are asking yourself, you have a ministry that deals with the environment, all right?
Yes.
You have someone who has spent their life on this particular subject, so they know it inside out. And more so, they have a track record for actually bringing about change that the country is enjoying, meaning they have reversed desertification. They've done things that people didn't think were possible. They are in politics. Her people decide she's worth electing. Correctly, as you put it, recognized. Made an assistant minister. what it speaks of is the chauvinism, male chauvinism that was there at that particular time. It was assumed having a woman as an assistant minister was a high enough achievement. She's an assistant minister. What do you mean? She should have been the minister. In fact, you mentioned vice president. Why not? Why not? I mean, that is a serious achiever. We are going to wait a very long time, before we find somebody who can get a Nobel Prize like she did in this country. But what she has done, she opened the eyes and the doors to people to understand the achievements that can be made. Since Wangari Maathai, we have very many women in this country who are seriously high achievers and they are recognized.
Yeah.
That one person does what they... And remember the support system that she achieved. You know, when you know in a granular fashion what some of these people have done, the question you're asking is, once in a while you hear scientists featuring in the paper.
Yeah.
Is that enough? I'm saying it is good that they feature, but they should feature more than one. It should be, you're in the paper, you're on a radio show, you are on TV, so people know what you have done. Thereafter, even if you go quiet, you may have published 100 publications. People, unless they're in your field, don't read those things. And even people in your field don't read those things unless they have a particular interest. So all that fame and all that hard work is not even known. You see, athletes are fortunate because you run, everybody watches, and it's a team sport and people love it. For instance, scientists, it's not a team sport. People just enjoy the benefits of the outcome. For instance, there's something we have in HIV work called test and treat. The process, there was a research process that actually took place that informed that decision. It was called Sustainable East Africa Research on Community Health Search. Everybody takes it for granted. You test positive, you put in treatment. Do they even know the people who are involved in that process to make it something that is practiced the world over right now? And it was done in Kenya and Uganda. Do they know? No.
It was spearheaded by some Kenyan scientists.
It was spearheaded in collaboration with scientists from the University of California, San Francisco, and Kenyan scientists from Kemri. Okay? And other partners who worked within the region where HIV prevalence was the highest. That is in the Luo Nyanza area.
Okay.
You ask me if I know that.
Were those scientists recognized in any way? Do they have a head of state commendation, such?
I think one.
Because all the time, when every year there's a long list of people, and it spans across all disciplines.
One scientist who, the lead scientist who headed that project got a commendation from her institution. She got an African award. And I am told that it is an award that is just a step short of the Nobel Prize, and only two Africans have actually, the South African and her who have got it. Yes. State commendation, I'm not certain that they have received one.
Okay. So if I just hear what you guys are saying, it's like we are reactive in our recognition of the people who do well in the country. Once somebody, like now, because Humphrey Kayange has received this,
everybody shouting.
We are expecting even for him to get something higher than an OGW. Because Teacher Tabiti has been feted outside the country, he comes back into the country now. Teacher Tabiti is everybody's favorite. Because of that other teacher from Nyeri, is it Nyeri?
Yes, it was Nyeri.
Who was Africa's best teacher. After that, that's when the TSC starts recognizing them. It's like we are recognizing people who've been recognized elsewhere first. And Ndu, you're saying, by the time we should actually be the ones who are propping them up by recognizing them locally and saying, world, please, look at so-and-so. World, why isn't Kayange on the Hall of Fame?
No, it shouldn't even have to be that, because it wouldn't be that world see this person. It would be that we are the ones propping them up. And so they have no choice but to take notice. That, hold on a minute. Look at what's happening with these fellows. Look, I'll give you an example. Lomu played rugby for New Zealand for very many years. Probably the best rugby player on the planet today. Until he got sick and then he could play no more. But even now, his name still rings in the minds of many, many people. Because of the contribution he made to New Zealand rugby, and because of how the country then saw the way in which he was operating in these international events, and how he contributed to New Zealand rugby in his own country, they said, hold on a minute, this guy is clearly an ambassador for us, not just in sport, but on a global scale. They pushed him to the forefront in so many different ways that the world had no option but to take notice. So they were combining the support with his natural skill.
Right.
It was not begging the world to say, hey, notice, this is our guy, notice. No.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's pushing him. Kipchoge Keino gets recognized globally because Kenya pushed him. Because Kenya recognized Kipchoge Keino. That's why Kipchoge Keino was able to sit in the IOC. Because Kenya recognized Kipchoge Keino.
Before or after his during his time.
During his
when
time,
he was still performing.
When he was still performing, Kipchoge Keino was recognized in the country. This is the man who has actually taken us to the world stage. This is the man who's opened the doors. Him and others, Kina Ben Jipcho, have opened the doors for Kenya to be recognized globally. And because of that, Kipchoge Keino continued being recognized locally. In his retirement, in his 50s, 60s, and 70s, Kipchoge Keino became a global sports icon. He was sitting in the global sports organizations. He is a Kenyan. It's the same thing that's happening to Humphrey Kaiange. Humphrey Kaiange has been pushed by the support that he's gotten from Kenya. That's how he ended up in that IOC.
Sorry, repeat that statement again.
He's been pushed by the support he got.
Which one?
Local support. But the Ministry of Sport.
How did that manifest
and the
itself?
IOC. See, he's there in the committee.
Oh, so they supported him.
Yes.
And gave him support so that he could take that position.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
it's 7:30. Let's take a break. Take a look at the weather and traffic. What we are asking is, do we honor our local heroes enough? World beaters, people who are recognized globally, whether it's our scientists, our novelists, our literature giants, our artists, do we honor them sufficiently at home? Or do we just wait for them to be recognized elsewhere? Do we wait for Sauti Sol to win the global awards and then we start saying, hey, Sauti Sol are our people. Sauti Sol are good. And then we start beating ourselves up and asking whether we've supported them enough. Do we support our heroes sufficiently? It's 28-8. Let's take this quick break. We'll be back.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. "24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
I know we're in a society where men have become very lazy. They have made people's daughters become mamafuas. You know mamafua? Yes. That you come to a man's house, maybe you went out or you've come for a weekend. You find all his shirts in his laundry basket. Yeah. He was waiting for you to
come and
Are you his wife? Including his inner garments.
Right, yeah.
Ladies, stop doing that.
Let me
Those are wifely duties, and even some wives don't
That's
do them.
literally what I was about to say. I was wondering, there's even some wives who refuse to do that.
The only way to live your best life is to create a balance between work, love, and play. The Adults in the Room is the only show on radio dedicated to educating Kenyans on how they can stay winning in life and in love. Text the word adult to 22840 to get the latest clips from Adults in the Room directly to your mobile phone. SMS adults to 22840.
On your march. Set.
The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon is back. Virtual Marathon and Elite Marathon. Sign up for the virtual race at 1,000 shillings only and run from wherever you are or from select hotspots around Nairobi. To register, visit www.nairobimarathon.com. Choose your preferred distance from 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 21 kilometers, or 42 kilometers, and decide the day you will run between 25th and 31st October 2021. To track your run, download and use the Strava app. When you register, you will receive a race kit that includes a shirt, medal, and bag. Kits will be collected at either KICC or at selected hotspots. All proceeds from the marathon go to help young people learn, earn, and grow through our Future Makers program. Join us and let us run as one. Standard Group.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
is sunny in Nairobi at 17, highs of 26 and lows of 15. Sunny at 14 in Nakuru with highs of 27, will come down to lows of 14. Mostly cloudy conditions at 16 in Nyeri, highs of 25 and lows of 14, while in Eldoret 14 degrees and mostly cloudy, highs of 25 and lows of 12. We will see rain showers in some parts of Mombasa this morning at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 24, while in Malindi it is mostly sunny at 28. Highs of 30 and lows of 26. Kisumu mostly sunny at 21, highs of 30 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega, sunny conditions rule the morning at 21, highs of 30 and lows of 16. Into Kampala this morning is mostly sunny at 20, highs of 28 and lows of 18, while in Johannesburg it's mostly cloudy at 12, highs of 22 and lows of 12. Dar es Salaam is mostly sunny at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 25. We'll see mostly clear conditions for now in Lagos at 25 with highs of 32 to come down to lows of 24. It's mostly cloudy in Kinshasa at 24, highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Spice up your life.
Okay, so how has it progressed this morning? We're still seeing some traffic on Uhuru Highway this morning. Well, there is hope, as we've been told, that parts of that road will be open from today. So hopefully traffic will not be as sticky as it has been for the last couple of weeks, but we're just going to have to wait and see. Gong Road is piling up this morning as it is on Jogo Road. That hasn't really let up since it started this morning at about 6 o'clock. We're also seeing some traffic on Langata Road today, and that will continue as that construction does. At the roundabout coming at the Globe Cinema overpass, rather. Coming up from the Thika Superhighway, there is a traffic meet, as in meet, everybody has met traffic there. It's quite crazy at that point, in and outbound to the city. We're also looking at the Thika Superhighway. I closed my eyes and I've opened them, and I've opened to see another sea of cars. It's quite a mess this morning. Kiambu Road in and outbound. I think we're now getting onto 2-3 lanes there. It doesn't look pretty at all. So traffic hour started late today, but it has started all the same. Let us know if you might be stuck somewhere. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127. We're trying to keep things moving this Friday morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, so let's hear from you. It's 23 minutes to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Do we recognize our heroes enough? Do we recognize our heroes enough? Humphrey Khayange, Kenya's rugby player, a former captain of the Kenya Rugby Sevens, was recently inducted into the World Rugby's Hall of Fame. This year at the Olympics, he was also inducted into the IOC's Athletes Commission. He sits there. But even before that, Humphrey Khayange is the chairman of the Athletes Commission at the National Olympics Committee of Kenya. He's been a member of the athletics body as well. He is an executive board member of the Kenya Academy of Sport. The Kenya Academy of Sport is actually a government institution. That's the job of the Kenya Academy of Sport, is that to nurture talent, to see how to develop sport from by nurturing talent across the country, from younger ages, and supporting them and developing sport. He is an executive board member. He sits there. He's was, of course, recognized by being made captain of the Sevens, and they went and won that series in Singapore, and they came back and were fitted. He is an OGW, Order of the Golden Warrior. Yeah.
You know,
he's
Eric,
been recognized.
So he
is
has
it enough?
been
Is
recognized,
it not?
but I think recognition is not just recognition because you have been feted and an award has been given to you. It is how it is broadcasted and how many other people get to know about it. Not once, not twice, but it's something that people get to know and live with. More so when you actually stop being involved in the sport or the activity that got you known. For instance, people take it for granted. We say ISIPE, okay? International Center for Insect Physiology, and they know, ISIPE. Do they know who Professor Thomas Odhiambo is? Nope. And if you visit ISIPE in Bita, you'll find that he was the first, the founder. Thereafter, they've had very many director generals. None of them have been Kenyan, meaning those jobs are actually given to people because of the qualifications that they have in the field of entomology. Okay? We have certain practices, for instance, within pediatrics in this country, say in the field of neonatology or just general pediatrics. There's a lot of research that the University of Nairobi has done over the years, and the people who pioneered it. Do people even know or have a clue as to who some of these people are and what is that they've done? The university knows them. But where am I taking my discussion?
People in the field know them.
Yes, and they know them very well.
Yeah.
It is us in the media who I think somewhere along the line we dropped the ball. And I'm going to say why. You may mention these people once. That's it. Done, dusted, gone. What stops us from continuously reminding people that, you know, this country you live in, the reason why it is this way, we have people who have brought this country to the point where it is, and that's why they're respected in the world.
Do you know why people then get to the point whereby they're respected and world-renowned? Because there is consistent, almost deliberate, in-your-face information about what they're doing, what they're up to, and other accolades that they may have made. Where they're playing this time, what research they've come across. That's what it is. It is deliberate. It's putting it out there. Because, again, I'm saying that this is a byproduct. What you celebrate is a byproduct of the effort that you've put in for that individual and also for yourself as a body. Body in this case could be country, could be the association, could be the team that they play for. So this celebration that you see is a byproduct of all of that. So putting them out there is actually consistent work. It's not just one time, one bam, thank you, ma'am, information, and then you're done. It is continuing with that. Because you realize, just as much as this individual or this team, for example, has realized that there's a skill or there's a talent that they have, you also realize that there's something that you could tap from that. And so it's a deliberate pushing of this individual and what they've done out there. It's not I don't think it's just one person.
No.
It's not just one person or one entity, just like there's media.
No, I'm bringing it to the media because that's the space
it's by the society.
It's everybody.
And I think then it grows organically.
Like, for example, this World Rugby Hall of Fame, this news that we heard last week, when is the last time you heard Humphrey's name, apart from the Olympics and him being
that was recent.
That's what I'm saying.
As recently as during the Olympics.
From
and before that?
Olympics, when is the last time you heard his name? That's what I'm saying. Apart from Tokyo in August.
It's when it's relevant.
That's what I'm saying.
You see,
it should always be relevant.
When are they not relevant?
My point.
No,
it should always be relevant.
When you're topical, you come up. When Tegle Lorupe, for example, is doing some peace marathon or something, Tegle Lorupe's name is all over everybody's minds. When Tegle Lorupe takes over some international assignment like she did the other day, she's top of mind.
Let me give you an
example. Just
example.
before that, it's somebody else.
Let me give you an
example.
example.
Give me an example of David Beckham.
No. Let me give you an example of Kobe Bryant.
Yes.
He's dead.
Yes.
He's dead.
Yes.
But until today, as of last weekend, there was a match. There was a game that was being still played in his honor, teaching young children about the skill, not just to celebrate the man, but the ball handling skills that he had. Ball handling skills was being celebrated amongst 4-year-olds to 10-year-olds across the continental United States.
Yes.
It was not. It was basketball associations in partnership with media, in partnership with the NBA juniors.
Yep.
And this is not something new. These are things that they used to do even before. That's what I'm saying. Many would say that you couldn't be more irrelevant when you're dead, right?
No. You still, in fact,
this is what I'm saying.
For many people, you even gain relevance.
It shouldn't only be when you're relevant.
You gain greater relevance after you're dead.
It shouldn't only be when you run a peace marathon, for example.
What was the significance of the date that this was taking place? It was in commemoration of the day he died. You see, there's something that you tie. There'll be a calendar event that ties into something and that brings back your name. That's why we're not talking about Michael Jordan this time. We're talking about him.
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. We're not talking about Scottie Pippen or the others. We're talking about Kobe Bryant this time.
Eric,
you see, let's hear first of all from Mohammed, because he's been holding on the line.
Okay.
He's in Mombasa. Mohammed, good morning.
Good morning, Eric, Ndu, and CT.
Good morning.
Morning.
So the question that you're posing has got several strands to it, whether the marketing is done, whether the outreach is done, whether they are well funded whilst in their careers, whether they are alive or dead. So I think what is important is to narrow down, for the purposes of the question you're asking and the relevance to your listenership, what exactly is the question. Or may I just say whatever I feel like saying?
Yeah. Say whatever you feel like saying, Mohammed.
Okay, so look, I'm not going to narrow this down to any specific field, be it sports, be it national hero, be it independence, fighters for independence, be it the likes of Nelson Mandela, who were beyond after they came to power, they still maintained absolute decorum. I'm going to bring this down to a slightly different angle, which is the value system by which we use to gauge what is a hero. When Trump was elected, my brother and I were having when Trump was running for president, my brother and I had a conversation, and I said, Hillary's going to win. She said, no way, it is going to be Trump. He said, I said, why? He said, because the electorate deserve a kind of leader like Trump. Now, what does that mean? That means that the value system by which that election is taking place and the people who are voting, their values are in some sectors of it. And it is evident today in America that so many still support Trump for his divisive politics is because their values are so eroded. Similarly, we have to ask ourselves, well, if I am looking at a hero, how do I just identify a hero? And then how do we move forward from that and value him? The next point on this is that hero. So, for example, let's talk about Eliud Kipchoge. He has done wonders for the world of sports. He has just been the top Olympic athlete and this and that. But he has also got a machine behind him in Ineos that is taking him, marketing him to another level. And these are professionals who are at the top of their field in order to take this forward. The way that they did that 2-minute marathon was phenomenal. It was a very kind of...
it was 2 hours, Mohammed.
Sanitized. Sorry, 2 hours. I mean, what did I say? Sorry, I'm driving.
You said 2 minutes. And,
2 minutes. I beg your pardon. Under 2 hours.
Yes.
So they sanitized the event in such a way that it was set up for him to win. They created that wind tunnel and all of that, the technology behind it. But it still made it look like he made history. So it is how you then package it. But at the end of it, if you look at Eliud Kipchoge, he is a multimillionaire in his own right, but he has maintained an absolute demeanor of humility, which appeals to people. So he is, in some ways, also being marketed in the right manner. Now you look at this Henry, forget his surname, the rugby player who...
Humphrey.
Humphrey, who is, you see, even I read about him 2-3 times and I can't remember his Christian name, let alone his surname. That he has achieved such great. What has been his finance? Because look, the world doesn't spin on love and fresh air. There is a financial aspect to it. So there's so many strands to this. However, I think to summarize it all, what is important is for us, the Kenyans who are forming an opinion, to ask ourselves, what is it that we value to identify that person as a hero? Does he display moral values, etc., etc.? Is it about the money that he has in his bank account? Despite that, that's why I began the conversation saying we either just say what we feel or let's drill this down into a more kind of...
So do you feel, Mohammed, as though the country and everybody involved, we're talking about society, whether that be institutions of media, government, etc., are doing enough to celebrate those who are making a contribution? Whether
the media,
it is in sport, whether it is...
The media is biased. There is no media in the world that is doing the job philanthropically and to pass on the right message. I'm not being disrespectful to the three of you in any way. It is the media field. It is what it is. The journalism is no longer just putting out the right news in the right balance for your readership and listenership. You have to look at your target market and then say what is going to sell, advertising space, etc. So that is one. It is financially related. Government. What is government doing for the likes of Kipchoge, Paul Turgat? These guys have already, Tegla Larupe, but whatever, they have achieved something, but it's a private sector who has assisted them. Yes, they've given them positions in the National Olympic Committee and this and that. But look at those committees. They themselves are a minefield in its own right. So that's government. Which other question did you say, Ndu? Government, media, which other institutions?
Take your pick.
You, Mohammed.
You, community, society, individuals.
Well, communities, I think, as far as the community is concerned, am I going to spend my hard-earned dollar to give to the person who is struggling on a wheelchair, or am I going to make a party of FET?
I don't think when we talk about celebration, it's that you invite people to pop champagne and eat some cake. I don't think that's what we're talking about when we talk about celebration.
Okay, let's drill
I think
down.
we're talking about recognition in terms of what this individual can do to raise...
Now, recognition is private or public? Privately,
it could be both.
I recognize... Okay, so let's break it down. Privately, I recognize all the people who put Kenya out there, and I'm saying I'm proudly Kenyan. I'm a fifth generation or sixth generation Kenyan, and I am a proud Kenyan despite my dual nationality. However, it's not just that. Now it's the media. The media and publicly, there is the responsibility of multiple strands of society to take that forward. Kobe Bryant, you mentioned. How did Kobe Bryant become who he is? Michael Jordan, how did he become who he is without Nike? He would have been nowhere. Tiger Woods. The first colored athlete who took the game global, who earned more money than any other golfer last year without picking up a golf club. How? Because it's
a private sector.
The aura that has been created. So, we, as much as we would like to make this into a discussion that we want to, you can't talk about anything. You can't talk about anything without money these days. It is what it is. Like I said, the world doesn't spin.
Mohammed, you are very right, actually. You are very right. Because, again, if you look at the times in which we live, and because we're in the information age, one is even spoiled for choice when it comes to these things. Because as you were talking, I thought of an earlier time when somebody was a fast runner. You were likened to people who are known to have been sprinters for Kenya. Have you ever heard of somebody by the name of Nyandika Mayoro?
Nope.
Serafina Antao? You wouldn't have.
Yes.
These were sprinters. Kipchoge Kaino is one whom everybody knows. And then in motorsports, there was Joginder Singh. Okay?
I know him.
Now, for a long time, these were household names, and anybody who was either known to be a fast driver or emulated fast driving or ran fast or was the other, you were associated. So these were household names.
Kadenge
Nampira.
I remember Kadenge.
Yes. Now, unfortunately, Hayange Nampira, that one, he comes at a time when his fame is competing with Formula One. It is competing with Premier League. It is competing with... There are all these things. So, yes, you are spot on. Thank you.
Can I say something? One last thing. CC.
Yes, please.
You talk about the Premier League. In the 90s, when I used to watch the Premier League in the UK, it was a different ballgame. Today, guys are making £500,000 or dollars or something absolutely ludicrous a week.
Yeah.
People in Kisumu were committing suicide when Arsenal or Manchester United lost the game. What relevance is it to them? What is the relevance to them that they have to take their own life?
It's entertainment.
But because of the marketing of DSTV and whoever it is that brought the matches to them, and they've endeared themselves to it, it is all money. Money does this to people. We are now, that is where the values of people has to be identified from how it has been sold to them. This has been my point.
That's true, and I hear your point. Thank you very much, Mohammed.
Thank you.
Good day. Esther in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Good morning, CT and Ndu.
Good morning, Esther.
My contribution on this topic really would be that it's almost like it's an African way of thinking or doing things. People don't like success to be very close to them. They prefer like when success is far. So an example, not to toot my own horn, but an example is how I am with my friends who could probably be listening in as well, then I'll be in trouble later.
Please get into trouble.
It's Friday.
It's Friday and tomorrow is Saturday.
Okay.
So basically what happened in my case, I worked on a project that got featured internationally, and it's been on some of the biggest architectural magazines. But these girls, they don't share it, they don't distribute it or say anything. So when I get recognized internationally, then they're shocked. Like, how did that happen? But it happened when they were around. So maybe it's something that needs to start with the circle. Have your circle toot your horn and speak about what you're doing, so that they're not shocked when someone else, like strangers, total strangers, then go ahead and like what you're doing and praise you. It's the same thing with the rugby guy. I'm sure he has friends who are on Instagram who could be posting what he's doing, even if it's not necessarily rugby related, but it's leadership related or working with the community.
Yeah.
But then someone else, a stranger somewhere, is taking photos and seeing what he's doing. So then everyone else gets shocked when the international community pays the attention. But then it all goes back to, I think Africans are used to success being so far away that they'd rather like the NBA stars in the US, Rihanna, and all those people. And then they don't really think of local talent, let's say Sauti Sol, as success.
It's how we value our own as successful. Now that you actually said, what else does Humphrey Kayange do besides rugby? He founded an organization called the Good Kenyan Foundation. And this is basically promoting, good citizenship, recognizing one another, uplifting one another, looking and tapping into each other's talents and potential. Very big on that. And that's something that he founded and he's running. And it's a very, very good organization, the Good Kenyan Foundation. You can look it up. Thank you very much, Esther. So how then are we? I like the point that Mohammed raised, which was looking at it from when somebody starts doing well, the private sector then comes in, and because they can see the value that they can get out of association with this person. Lewis Hamilton is big now because of the kind of backing that he gets from the private sector. The same thing we are talking about, even Kobe Bryant and Tiger Woods. Same thing we're talking about. Look at how much, for example, General Motors has done with Eliud Kipchoge. Just rallied behind him, but made sure that, we have conversations about Eliud Kipchoge. They have produced videos about Eliud Kipchoge. There's a story about Eliud Kipchoge that's being sponsored by the private sector. So it goes out in there. David Rudisha broke his own record. He broke a record that had stayed on for many years, and then he broke it again.
Mm-hmm. And it stayed unbroken.
Yes.
Part of this conversation, Eric, has to do with our contribution to this whole conversation. As Kenyans, when we say we recognize them and fet them, is it when you see them, you greet them and say, excuse me, it is yourself.
Or is it just feeling proud?
Yes, good to see you, man, you've done. Is it that? Or is it that, look, when we look at the things that are negative in this country, it is really not all negative.
Right.
The good things that are happening in this country
are,
just look at what's happening in this country. Look at the individuals who are doing this for this country. Yeah, these are the individuals. Let's forget them for a while. They're a bit of a damper and a bit of a wet blanket. Let's look at some of the really nice things that are happening and the people who are making it possible. Because if you're talking about recognizing people who are significant, every day when I read the obituaries, I come across people who remember a loved one who has passed away.
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years, they haven't forgotten.
This person is significant. Remember the day when we were celebrating Mashujaa here?
Yes.
When people were calling, they were talking about people who have touched them in
one way or another.
One way or the other. Very, very personally, at a very personal level. Right?
Yes.
So let's continue the conversations in the next hour. The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon is taking place already since Monday. We've been having the virtual runs.
Indeed, and you have until Sunday to do that. So what happens is that folks are running in different parts of the country and in the world, and then you're able to post your times on the Strava app, and you can participate in the first time Virtual Plus live Nairobi, Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. That ends on the 31st. The live race also taking place on the 31st of October. I think you still have an opportunity to register up until the end of today for the marathon, if you haven't done that. Opportunity.
And if they haven't reached the number they wanted, 2,500.
Yes. And it's a chance to help youth in the country earn, learn, and grow.
Indeed. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire Dennis Aseto. As the DPP Nurdin Haji continues to be asked to resign from office and a petition for his removal having been submitted to the PSC, the DPP now says that he is not scared of the threats, insisting that the law must be followed to ensure justice is served. Addressing a meeting to formulate policies to be followed on access to justice in Mombasa, Haji expressed outrage at how divisions are being witnessed in the investigation departments.
The pen is mightier than the sword. Even when the sword apprehends, at the end of it, it is the pen that decides. It is the judiciary that will decide with a stroke of the pen. Hence, the pen is mightier than the sword. I may fall, but I assure you that the next DPP will come from amongst you. And I assure you that the next DPP, if I do fall at all, will come with more gusto to pick from where I've left. The pen has written, the ink has dried. We will not allow any clawbacks on this constitution.
Haji urged all departments to adhere to their responsibilities in accordance with the constitution.
This natural tension has in recent times expressed itself in unhealthy hostility, undercutting, and at times partners overstepping the boundaries of their constitutional mandate to attempt to take up the role of others. This ultimately obstructs the cause of justice, with some partners unwilling to subject or submit themselves to constitutional scrutiny and accountability by fellow partners within the NCAJ.
Two groups have lodged a complaint with the Public Service Commission demanding that Haji be fired for allegedly undermining investigations. Now, as political temperatures continue to heat up and politicians seeking to outsmart their opponents, Deputy President William Ruto has asked the Ukambani residents to vote him into office because it will ensure that unemployment is handled. He maintained that the bottom-up economic model will come through to solve problems Kenyans are facing across the country. He also asked the youth to up their socks and stop wasting their lives into depression and crime.
If there is a crisis in Kenya, it is the crisis of unemployment. Millions of young people with certificates, degrees, and diplomas, they are unemployed. Many of them have gone into depression. Many of them have gone into crime. Many of them have gone into drugs because they have nothing to do, and it is not their fault. If there is a crisis that we must deal with, it is the crisis of unemployment.
These as Oka leaders today take their campaigns to western region of Hayaga and Vihiga to popularize the party. Oka leaders Musalia Mudavadi of ANC, Gideon Moi of KANU, and Moses Wetangula of Ford Kenya are expected to spearhead their campaigns in the region, where major announcements about the party's future will be made. Now, bar operators in the country through their association, National Bar Owners Association, wanted the Tourism Ministry to release 2 billion shillings economic stimulus package meant to cushion the industry. The association's chairperson, Simon Njoroge, noted that the industry had lost an average of 150 billion shillings during the pandemic. He said that the package would go a long way in the recovery process, further calling on the Health Ministry and IEBC to use their 54,000 entertainment joints as vaccination centers and voter registration points.
This industry has lost about 250,000 workers. That is our staff members, direct and indirect. This industry has lost about 150 by paying taxes and everything. Let us now go back to job, and those workers at home, let us try to call them solely by solely. For they are young youth, young tax who are at home, let them come back to work. I want to urge the county government that last year we have been given a discount of 50% paying the car licenses. I'm urging the county government, even next year, let us pay one license.
Senate Committee on Labour and Social Welfare is calling on the county governments to improve the welfare and early childhood development and education teachers. The committee's chairman, Johnson Sakaja, said the counties should dedicate funds to the improvement of ECDE. The Senate is working on implementation of uniformity in the schemes of work for ECDE teachers, which was presented by Teachers Service Commission in 2018.
This is a matter that is sticking across the country, where we have not put enough value to these teachers who mold the real foundation of education. Because if you get it wrong at early childhood stage, you will not get it right at primary or at secondary stage. We're happy that the petitioners and the county government and the Public Service Board have agreed on a way forward, including an increment of their remuneration by more than 5,000 shillings and confirmation that is going to be broken down in stages. So Governor, thank you for that. Kericho County will serve as an example to the rest of the country on how we take care of ECD teachers and how we take care of our children, who are the trustees of our country's posterity.
As new information of the saga involving two Ndishu brothers continue to develop every new day, they have defended themselves by alleging that the two sisters, Cheryl and Stephanie Murgor, are part of an extortion ring. Appearing before the Langata police station for questioning, they claim the sisters were in the company of men who were hell-bent on extorting them, causing an altercation. Accompanied by their lawyer, Edwin Sifuna, the twins now want everyone captured on the CCTV chart. The investigation file is expected to be forwarded to the DPP's office for action. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
It's built up on Mombasa Road this morning, and we see quite a lot of traffic inbound today, especially just going then from the SGR heading out towards Cabanas. After Cabanas, not too bad. Then you're going to get to Imara, Daima, and boom, traffic's going to hit you like a cold wind on a warm day, which is kind of like what it is today, actually. So anyway, there is traffic on Mombasa Road, and that's getting out in towards the city. ICD, however, is going to give you a bit of reprieve then heading out into the city. We're seeing traffic on North Airport Road today going towards Outer Ring. That also is building up. The industrial area circuit of Lunga, Likoni and Lusaka. That square is chock-a-blocked this morning. Enterprise Road out coming from the back. Then you can get onto Mombasa Road without too much of an issue. Use that as an option. Aerodrome Road. Bam! A lot of traffic there. Langata Road also. All that traffic that's coming off of Langata Road is going to Aerodrome. It's also going towards Bagathi Way this morning. Uhuru Highway, total different mess today. The Thika Superhighway also. Not too bad. Now it's just that survey heading towards the Pangani Underpass. Kiambu Road is traffic in both directions. That whole Parkland's total mess. Let's just wait. Okay? Let's talk on SpiceFM KE. A few minutes after 8 o'clock, we'll take a look about half an hour and see what it looks like. Talk to us there or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
8 minutes after 8. Good morning. How are you? Happy Friday. It's the 29th day of October 2021, the last Friday of October this year. Let's begin with the day's proverb with CT.
Aelo. Correct. Ngi putiro ejok noi kotere elose elogito.
Say again.
Aelo ngi putiro ejok noi kotere elose alogite.
There's a time somewhere in the, I think around the 80s and 90s, where there was a whole conversation around backward masking of messages.
Mm-hmm.
And, you'd hear something being said this way, but if you actually reversed that, there's some subliminal messaging being passed on to you.
Mm-hmm.
So what this man is doing. He's telling you, go beat somebody. Keeps repeating that. And you're wondering, what's influencing my decision this morning? But it was CT. Ailo. Gaputiro.
All right, let me I it in English. Okay?
Yes.
Since the warthog lives in the forest, they must make friendship with the other animals. So in that whole statement I read in the Turkana language, which one do you think represents the warthog?
Is a what though?
I think it's
Isn't this interesting about language?
It's the only one where you can remember. You just remember using Everything else, ngaputiro.
Went out of the window.
Yeah, surely. Our guest this hour is Martin Njoroge. He's a programs officer at the Kenya Organic Agriculture Network. Let's have a conversation about agribusiness, about agriculture, about our food security. We call this Agri-Talk on SpiceFM in the Situation Room. Welcome to the Situation Room, Martin.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here today. And it's a blast getting to meet you. Last year. Yeah.
Kabisa, karibu sana. And we're glad that you're joining us. Everybody who's tuned in this morning on SpiceFM, online and KTN Home. Let's have a conversation about organic agriculture in the country. So the last time we had a conversation about organic agriculture, we learned a lot about what's happening in the country. There's a lot that's taking place in terms of organics. There are some people who missed on that conversation. So let's start by definitions. When we say organic in food production, what do we mean?
Okay, organic is basically a farming system that avoids the use of synthetic chemicals. As well, it's fair to the environment. It's fair to the people. It's also kind to the environment. And there's an aspect of health in there that's actually being promoted. Because when you're talking about organic, it's not just the food. It's how the food has been grown. It's how you are treating your workers. It's how you are treating your environment. Are you actually destroying the environment in the process of growing your food? So.
Okay, so if you, just off the top of that, because that's very interesting that you talked about, is how you treat your people, the processes through which you go through to get to this end product.
Exactly, yeah.
So if you went out and did a survey, for example, and you're growing mangoes, right? And you find out that you are basically treating your employees akin to sweatshops, whereby they're working in, unfavorable conditions. Would the end product then be less organic?
Yeah, it's actually the process itself.
Okay.
We're not looking at the product. Because a product can be anything. You can actually say you just brought your mango, the farmer is not using any chemicals, and that product is organic. But if there has been a lot of injustice behind the product, you can't really certify it organic. Yeah. Yeah.
So, the one thing that you've mentioned there, the non-use of synthetic chemicals is what many people would associate organic with. That the fact that I have not sprayed any synthetic chemicals on this, then it's organic. But you're talking about very many other things.
Yeah.
There's what you're saying, if you're not harming the environment, give us examples where you'd be growing your crop, you're not using synthetic chemicals, you actually are treating your workers very well, but you could be destroying the environment.
Yeah, just off the top of my head, if you go clear a whole forest just to put up a farm, what have you done? If you go drain a swamp, backfill the swamp, start growing your food, what have you done? You've actually displaced some endemic species in order to grow your food. And that's tantamount to destroying your environment, because you've actually displaced living creatures which have a right to be in that environment in order for you to profit, in order for you to actually grow some food.
Yeah.
Sounds
like just doing it the traditional way. Traditionally, there's how people used to grow their food.
Yeah.
They wouldn't very much interfere with the swamps, with the wetland. They would, they'd use children to grow the food, but, in the circumstances then were different.
Yeah,
but all those things, and then they didn't have synthetic fertilizers or synthetic pesticides as well. So is that what we're talking about? Let's go back to the traditional way of growing our food.
Yeah, it's, traditionally, people respected the environment. In a sense, it wasn't something that you could have spoken about and said, but in a subliminal way, let me say, our ancestors respected the environment. They respected the processes that go through within the environment, and they were able to function within such environments, and they were functioning. Actually, they were thriving in those environments. And the problem has always been conflating organic with traditional, because it sort of gives it a backward reputation, such that this is probably one of the greatest critique when it comes to people saying, okay, you can't do organic. They say that we are trying to get people back to traditional ways. We are not respecting the current science. We are trying to just degrade what the current progress that has been made. And this is, I think it's more of a red herring in terms of deflecting from the main message, which is, okay, we need to be really conscious about how we are growing our food. We need to respect the environment, respect the people in the process, and give a fair price for the food.
Yeah. It's interesting you should say that, because when you talk about science, it is assumed that modern science is where science began. It didn't.
Actually, yeah, true.
Mankind has been living scientifically for the longest time, and it's the way they've been going about things that informed what then grew up and developed to be what we now call science. True. Modern science.
Yeah.
You are the people who understood. How did we get to know when to plow, when to plant, when to harvest?
Yeah.
We had studied our ancestors had studied the environment, and they understood. How did they know how to interspace their crops? They had learnt, they had understood.
Yeah.
Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because part of the big problem we often have with definition and understanding situations is a small matter of commerce.
Yeah, true.
Because the moment money making enters a conversation, it never comes in as money making. It always comes in as something beneficial for you, which is better than what you already had.
Yeah.
And often not with sufficient information to back it up. Again, when you say synthetic chemicals, as a layman, you know what I hear? Fertilizer.
Yeah.
So I'm asking.
Pesticides.
So at what point is it synthetic? At what point is it not synthetic? And how do you tell the difference?
Okay. Normally we have naturally occurring chemicals, which are, they're allowed in organic because they are naturally talk about pyrethrin. These are naturally occurring substance. We also have minerals which are naturally occurring. You have things like gypsum, you have things like lime. These, you mine them directly. But the moment you take it through a chemical transformation or a process, you add a chemical to extract it. Sometimes you might add an acid to extract a specific mineral. That one is automatically considered as synthetic. If it has to go through a chemical process where there may be byproducts which are formed, where probably, you think about fertilizers nowadays, what we are sold as fertilizers, these are petrochemical products. Yeah. Yeah, it's this is all the oil, it's the oil industry.
Yeah.
Think about actually most, and that's why you find that the biggest push for what you're calling industrial farming came after the Second World War, because there were so many unused, let me say, just the bombs and things like that. Yeah, this is what was converted to the current fertilizers, and that's why even when you see some of these series and movies, if you are found to be buying some of these chemical fertilizers and things, you're flagged as a potential terrorism risk. Yeah, because these are they are the products that were actually formed, that were actually extracted after an industry.
But they perform. There's a function they perform.
Yes.
I mean, when you're adding fertilizer, the synthetic fertilizer, there's what you're doing to the soil, to the minerals. When you're using synthetic pesticides, there's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now, what are the alternatives?
Okay.
If your crop has been, let's say, infested by certain weevils, or what are the alternatives organically that then you promote?
Okay. Yeah, there are alternatives, and these alternatives, it's never a direct alternative, or what you say, it's a one-for-one substitution. Because when we are thinking about organic, we are thinking about the process. We are thinking about the mindset of the farmer. Because as cities has mentioned right now, our forefathers actually knew how to grow this food They actually knew how to look at the processes that go on in the environment.
Yeah.
They could space their produce appropriately. They knew when to grow, how to grow it, and whenever something was coming up, they knew how to take care of that. You see, that's a whole mindset, and this mindset has sort of been lost in the translation as we're going towards organic. And going to directly now to your question, it's that what we are advocating for is an integrated approach to pest and disease management, soil fertility management, because it's if I came here and told you that, okay, you need to convert to organic, and I don't give you the specific steps that you need to take when you're converting to what should you actually observe when you're converting to organic. Currently, I'll say the current thought process in a farmer is that whenever I see a problem, I want to destroy that problem.
Yep.
The term is destroy. It's not even control, it's destroy. If you see a pest, you want to destroy, you don't want to see it on your farm. But when I'm thinking about more integrated approaches, I'm thinking about, okay, this is here. This is an indication that there's an imbalance on my farm. How do I build up that imbalance? Yes, there are products which you can come and control that particular pest or disease, but the underlying issue is that imbalance. And if you don't sort out that imbalance, eventually it's going to come back, and it's going to come back multiple times, trifold. So is this the push that we're trying to get? Because if we're still looking at agriculture as such a huge factor here, right? Is this the push that we're trying to get everybody involved on this organic line? Yeah. Why? You see, it's all about having access to safe food, having access to, let me just say, food that's not contaminated. Because you think about the just basic statistics. I had written it down just for not to be misquoted. We've actually had a 144% growth in number of quantity of inputs applied or bought in Kenya that is used on agricultural production. In 2018, we imported at least 15,600 tons of pesticides, herbicides, and fungicides. That is it's a big increase from what was actually imported in 2014, which was just 6,400 tons. So
more than double.
It's more than double. It's actually triple.
So why?
What does that portend?
Because first of all, farmers have internalized the mindset that they need to use pesticides and herbicides to grow their food.
Was there competing information? Because we always say that people like what they know. People use what they know. What is available and what has been previously taught. So there are two things. Is it that people have then included or used then what is available, or is it that there have been competing lines of information whereby this pesticide use, which is harmful, as you're saying, has taken over the organic conversation or the organic narrative? Which is it?
Okay. Organic has always been on the back foot because essentially, organic is not what you can say billion-dollar business in Kenya currently. Actually, the people who are making the most money in organic are exporters because they know that's where the market is actually going towards. And you find that a lot of even the flower companies, they are starting to use these integrated pest management approaches because they know what their market is actually demanding. It's not the Kenyan market. It's the foreign market. It's demanding safer products for them. So you see, what we are consuming here, or the conversation for local production, is actually more about how can farmers buy more of these inputs. They have been conflated with better production. They have been conflated with high quality products. So eventually the farmer will pick up the message. A farmer is a human being.
It's a business person.
A business person. But also, it's not really a deliberate, let me say, it's not a deliberate move on their end actually,
It's
because
conditioned.
it's being conditioned into them. Just switch on to any vernacular station. The first thing that's being marketed are these organic not the non-organic inputs, the synthetic inputs. It's so strong actually. You'd be remiss to say that. How are they not buying even more of it? It's actually for me.
Of course, if it tells you that you've used this, somebody saw their produce triple.
Yeah,
I'm gonna use it.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's out there on a publicly regulated media, that also means that it's also being sold in a regulated shop. It means that even the government agrees with this.
Yeah.
It means this is the way the world is going. Exactly. And you don't want to be left behind.
Yeah.
Now you come in now with your contrary information, start saying, hold on. What will you be saying? Will you be saying, no, it's not true that after using these products, the production is tripling? Or are you coming to say, yes, the production could be tripling, but then there are other consequences? What is your message?
I would actually follow the latter.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are always consequences. There's that temporary boost in production, which immediately plateaus and then it dips. You find there are multiple studies that have been conducted testing or comparing organic systems of production and some of these chemical-based systems of production. You find that in the long run, within the first year, there's no competition. Conventional systems actually very, very productive within the first year. But when you come to the second, third, and most successive years, you find that you need to actually apply more to get the same level of production that you are getting within the first year. But when it comes to organic, you're slowly building up your potential. You're slowly actually harnessing the potential in the soil, feeding the microorganisms. It's all about a system of it's ecology. We call it it's ecology because at the end of the day, what you are doing, you're balancing out whatever is in the soil, and it's actually working for you. Because when you have a pest or disease incidence, when your products are not actually, when your food is not growing as fast as you might want it to, it's because it's not accessing the nutrients in the soil.
Yeah.
And some of these synthetic chemicals, what they do, they give it that.
They boost it. It's
like taking sugar. Yeah. You get that jolt of sugar. You get that sugar rush, but then you get the crash immediately. The same thing with the soil. You have this.
So the competing message here is everybody else is thinking, I am in farming today to produce today.
Yeah.
don't want to start thinking, okay, I'm going to be growing up my production over the next 10 years. Then, maybe I'll double or triple or quadruple my output in 10 years. I'm thinking today, how can I triple today?
Yeah.
They'll come up with a new product which they'll bring, which will help me also deal with the crash.
Yeah.
So the competing message here is quite it's landing on some serious ground here.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about it's the needs of today
versus tomorrow.
Versus telling me about some future there, if you build up your soil's potential, if you allow the microorganisms in the soil to, if you allow your crop, if you do this, then maybe 10 years from today, you'll have done this. But Martin, I'm alive today.
Yeah.
I'm in business today.
Are there visible signs or visible indications of harm that one can demonstratively point to and say, this is what happens when you focus on these synthetic products?
It's something that the government actually released these results.
No, give us those results after this break. Let's take a break. 28 minutes after 8, we have in the studio with us Martin Njoroge. He's a program officer with the Kenya Organic Agriculture Network. We are talking about the emerging opportunities in organic agriculture in the country and in the region. So he'll tell us, first of all, we've been trying to understand and balance out between organic and synthetic. And now he'll tell us, okay, what are those direct effects of synthetic and what are those direct benefits of organic visible? This is Kenya's biggest conversation at 29 minutes after 8. Time for a break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Did you know that stepping on, touching, or picking things at the scene of a crime may not only contaminate the evidence but also implicate you in a crime? Did you know that a person, including police officers, who interferes or tampers with evidence or the scene of crime commits an offense that is punishable by up to 5 years in prison? Did you know that a case is won or lost at a crime scene, which means that proper collection and preservation of evidence is crucial?
This
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
From 2019, she has stayed with 6 different people. You know, we are saving money. There's no need for him to be renting in this side.
And I'm renting this side.
No.
Yeah.
And sometimes this is an avenue for women to con men. Let me just be very honest with you people. Today we are talking about performing marriage duties while you're still dating. Why are you paying rent and this is not your wife?
Yo.
We need to start holding each other accountable. For those people who are dating, learn to buy your own bed.
The only way to live your best life is to create a balance between work, love, and play. The Adults in the Room is the
It's sunny in
only
Nairobi
show
at
on
18,
radio.
highs of 26 and lows of 15 today. Sunny conditions at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 27 and lows of 15. While in Nyeri, it's mostly cloudy at 17. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 15. Mostly cloudy conditions in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 12. And we're looking at light rain in Mombasa at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 24. In Malindi, it's raining as well at 28, highs of 30 and lows of 26. Kisumu is mostly cloudy at 23. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 19. In Kakamega, it's mostly cloudy at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 16. In Kampala, it's mostly sunny at 21, highs of 28 and lows of 18, while in Dar es Salaam, it's raining at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 25. Johannesburg is cloudy at 13, highs of 22 and lows of 12. And we're looking at mostly clear conditions at 24 in Lagos, highs of 32 and lows of 24. Kinshasa is mostly sunny at 24, highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Are you trying to get onto Landis Road today? You might want to give that a think because it's quite heavy today. Not quite sure why this is so bad today. Getting towards the Kamkunji roundabouts in the CBD. Absolute mishmash of traffic today. We're looking also on Langata Road and it's coming out quite hot and heavy towards the Timor roundabouts. Bagathi Way also taking a heavy hit from that Langata Road traffic and also traffic who's trying to get away from Uhuru Highway this morning. So it's a mess, guys. No other way to describe it but a traffic mess today. We're also looking at traffic coming out of Westlands as quite something. It was reducing on the Thika Superhighway. It's playing cat and mouse with us today. Increases, decreases. Loves me not. That's what's happening on Thika Road today. Same thing on Kiambu Road, except for Kiambu Road, it loves me not. It's just all the way packed. I don't know till where. So we're going to have to keep looking at that. Tell us now where you might be stuck. How to do that, Spice FM KE. Oh, I forgot to tell you. My gift again today is the bypasses. Use them. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
27 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. In the Situation Room this morning is Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest, Martin Jeroge, Program Officer with the Kenya Organic Agriculture Network. Before we took the break, CT had asked Martin to list some of the harms.
You see, when you want to talk about benefits, it has to be vis-a-vis something that isn't a benefit. So here we are talking about synthetic products. They eventually end up in the soil, all right? There are those who see the benefits because the yield is multiplied. Then there's a discussion that he's introducing and telling us, but you know something, the damage that it's doing to the soil is almost beyond repair.
Immeasurable.
So, how is this manifested? What does one see when these negative consequences kick in?
Okay. I think it was 2014, the government released some soil testing results. They were trying to kick off a program in terms of releasing fertilizer, which is meant to counter some of the problems. The general overview was that soils in Kenya are acidic. And this has been because of routine use of fertilizers, which has actually lowered the pH of the soil. And this, when pH goes down, there are some minerals or some nutrients which are not available to the plants because it requires a specific pH range for a specific plant to acquire, to access a specific nutrient. So when the pH goes down, this is no longer accessible to the plant. So the plant, it actually struggles to grow. And we've seen this. Maize production, it has gone down year on year, despite the fact that we are increasing acreage of land under production. We are still seeing a lot of challenges in terms of food production and in terms of productivity of the land.
So are you saying that there is a direct relation between reduced crop yield and use of
increased
use of synthetic pesticides and such?
That's what
Can you see a direct relation?
That's what the data says. Actually, that's what the data says, because we are using more inputs, we are using more pesticides, but we are still having the same food insecurity aspects, issues that are coming up, despite the fact that we are actually even now going to areas of saying, okay, these inputs are no longer enough. We now need to go to GMOs to prop up the production.
So what was the recommendation of that report, the 2014 report? It was released by the Ministry of Agriculture?
Yes, it was released by the Ministry of Agriculture. The recommendation was that farmers should actually work closely with extension service providers to improve their soil, to reduce the acidity in the soils. Yeah, and there was the kind of fertilizers they were providing, had a high liming effect. Yeah.
So that's when now they started promoting use of lime.
Yes.
Now, if we were to go organic, what remedy can the organic deploy to the soil right now?
Okay, liming is still allowed in organic because lime is a naturally occurring mineral.
Okay.
We mine it directly. But also we are talking about not looking at farming as you don't look at it as a straightforward. You look at it as a system of connected parts. Whereby, if I'm growing something, I need to diversify my farm so that whatever I'm growing, I'm not actually relying on just one particular crop. I'm diversifying my investments or my investments on the farm as well. I'm trying to say that I try to do what we call it's called integrated pest management, whereby I try to control the pests before they actually. I try to prevent the initial pest harm by putting in place measures which repel those pests. So if it's a crop that's if it's a pest that's attacking a particular crop, I'll try and plant another crop which is repelling that pest. So you find these things are occurring whereby you're growing onions, you're growing kales, you're growing different beans, you're actually diversifying the farm, not for the basis of diversifying, but because these plants, in their own essence, they are repelling competing pests. So if I have a pest that's attacking onions, it's going to be repelled by a chemical that's produced by the beans.
Is it true or is it a myth then that organic farming or the processes of going towards organic results are more expensive than using the synthetic option?
Okay, you have to define expensive in what sense?
Costs more money.
It directly costs more money.
Okay.
Because it takes time to build up your farm to get that level of productivity. It definitely will cost you more.
I see what you're asking then, because then you say at the end result then,
Yeah.
would it then cost you more if then you were ingesting foods that were not healthy and then you had to spend more money going to hospital and such like this?
Exactly.
So when we're doing analysis then between the two, in the long run, then maybe is the question, which is more expensive?
It's in the long run as well. Not only just the health effects. You're thinking about the investment on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, you are going to spend, you say, okay, I'm going to spend a little money on the fertilizers, a little money on the pesticides, a little money on the fungicides, herbicides, and things like that. But it's a downward hill because eventually you'll have to spend more and more and more to maintain that level of production we are talking about, because that's the thing. The thing is, you get hooked on the product, and then you have to buy more of it as you go along. Because that's the business model. It's not really much about. It's about business.
Yeah.
The agrochem industry is around $234 billion industry. Is it because they really care so much about the farmer? They want. I'm not going into conspiracy theories or things like that. It's because the way the system is designed is for the farmer to become dependent on products.
On the product.
And then when that product is no longer effective, they launch another product. And then they tell you, oh, don't look at this one, look at this one now. It's going to safeguard you from this and this sort of diseases. And the message of organic, and that's why some people might find it not attractive, because it doesn't really appeal to the business interests of people.
Okay, you mentioned business interests, and I think this is very interesting because a few moments ago you talked about the fact that those who farm, for example, for export are already on this organic train because they understand that the majority of the consumers on the other end of the pond are looking for organic food, and not just the results in terms of the food, but the processes. Are you making sure that everything that you do is organic in nature?
Yeah.
It is from these same countries that we are seeing a heavy insistence on these synthetic pesticides and fertilizers and things like that.
Yeah.
How it seems like a dizzying balance between the two.
It's, unfortunately, Africa has to take care of Africa. Kenya has to take care of Kenya, because eventually, even when Europe is banning pesticides, they are not banning it for the benefit of Africa. They are banning it for the benefit of Europeans. So you still find the same companies which are manufacturing those banned chemicals. They are selling it in Kenya. And
but insisting that the people on this other side
consume
them.
Consume it because it's a business. It's a business process. It's a business interest. Eventually, we need to move away from just thinking about, okay, this is assisting farmers to. You have to look at the underlying message. Are you creating a system of dependence, or are you creating a system of independence? Because if I can give 3 compelling reasons why we need to actually support organic inputs or organic production systems. Number 1, you safeguard the farmer, you safeguard the consumer, no longer consuming pesticide. Number 2, we are creating more sustainable systems of production, whereby even if our farmers are going organic, they're actually saving money and producing more and producing higher quality food. And those adverse effects, those confounding variables, where issues of health, these are long-term. People will not see them immediately. So in terms of response to that, I can't really count on that as a compelling factor for them. Number 3, we'll be promoting innovations here in Kenya, because you find that you can easily make your own fertilizer, you can easily make your own organic inputs, package it and sell it to people here in Kenya. This is no longer a business that's only select few who can do it. You see, out of the 166 companies which are selling synthetic inputs in Kenya, over 90% of them are importing these inputs. That's a lot of forex you're losing because of just buying inputs. But if you're able to be self-sufficient here in Kenya, and these are not really complicated industries that require so much investment in terms of setting up. Just to make a biofertilizer, you just need a drum, a plastic drum, and a few and a few ingredients here and there, and you can grow those ingredients. We are seeing whole industries set up in Mwea, set up in Nakuru, just to do the same thing.
Okay.
And it's a low entry sort of engagement, and this actually empowers the local people. You're not talking about getting. You're importing. It goes through a whole process. You just think about the whole carbon emissions. Even if you're going to go into that sort of argument, we are using local products. We are using local expertise. We are selling to local people. We are retaining the money within our own economies. And what's so wrong about that message? Yeah.
No, the message is fantastic.
Yeah.
What I'd like to know is, even as we talk about the messaging and the competing interests, there must be some individuals who are involved in farming who have taken up this mantra of organic farming.
Yes.
Where do we see them? Where are the examples? And how is it catching on within the country?
Okay, there are actually so many of them. There's so many
mention
of them.
Two big ones, who when you mention I say, I will know. How? These ones I've heard of.
Finlays. Yeah.
Finlays are known for tea.
Yes.
And flowers.
Yes.
Yes.
They are going organic. This is somebody you know. This is somebody you can associate with. And this is a huge industry. Yeah. They are going organic. They've always had a line of organic tea. Yeah.
All right. Now, at a local level, a farmer who is essentially subsistence, because remember the backbone of a lot of our food is subsistence farming or small-scale farmers.
Yeah.
Where have you seen this uptake, and where is organic farming catching on, and where are we getting produce that is actually getting into the market and feeding Kenyans?
Okay, I've been working with two specific groups of farmers.
Yes.
One in Murang'a, one in Machakos. The Murang'a farmers, they are in Kangare, and they are also in Gatanga and Sabasaba. They are growing their own organic food. They are selling to their local people. They are actually having an organic market existing within the main market. And people, they are out competing the other sellers.
In the market.
In the market.
How many farmers in that group?
There are around 150 farmers. 20 of them are directly participating in the farmers market. Those 150 farmers, they are supplying shops like the corner shop. They are supplying, It's what...
I was drawing a Google map in my head to figure out where the corner shop is. Carry on.
Sylvia's Basket along Gong Road. We have Kalimoni Greens. We have Bridges Organic Restaurant. They are their main supplying farmers. And they're actually making money out of this. They're making a lot of money from growing organic. And also even the just that aspect that they are selling to their own people. They are selling.
There's already
to
a
the
community
local
that's
people.
growing.
Yeah, the community is growing.
And they're very, very passionate. For example, I know about Sylvia's Basket.
Yeah.
And Sylvia is one of those who's very passionate. She always even creates content on organic farming, sharing about organic farming.
Yeah.
So if you look at now that group that you're just giving us, the example of Murang'a farmers.
Yeah.
You said 100 and how many?
150.
150 of them.
Yes.
Around, if you look at their combined acreage.
Yeah.
How many acres are we talking about, and how many different items are they producing?
We are talking around 90 acres, 90 acres of land. In Machakos, it's around 230 acres of land, because Machakos landhold sizes are generally bigger. Yeah. So come back again.
And the produce?
The produce.
The different products that they're bringing to the market?
Okay.
What are they growing?
Yeah, they are growing the local vegetables. These are the kale, skumawiki, managu, terere. They're also doing a lot of fruits, danias. It's the whole veggie basket.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, as I listen to that, it brings me back to a conversation that we once had, and somebody said, organic farming is more for the smallholder farmers. The large-scale farmers, we don't hear them going into organic farming. Is it true or is it not?
Large-scale organic farming has its own challenges, because it's also something we say it will work, but it takes a lot more investment in terms of
more expensive.
It's more expensive to tailor your system towards an organic production method.
You know, this is actually almost counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Because small scale farmers do it, right? There are many, but they're small scale.
Yeah.
Now, economies of scale ought to work here.
large farm.
Right. Yeah. Apply the same.
And then suddenly, the report is that the opposite is actually true. It becomes more expensive. Break this down for us, please.
Number one, the biggest issue in organic is labor. Because we are not using herbicides. You know, when it comes to controlling of weeds, that's the biggest challenge. If you are doing it on 1 acre, you can easily do it. If you are doing it on 100, 1,000 acres, it now becomes a significant issue. And when the levels of mechanization...
And it cannot be mechanized.
It can be mechanized. It's allowed to be mechanized, actually.
Okay.
It's only that here in Kenya, that level of mechanization is not available. Is it
very expensive?
It is expensive. It is expensive.
So the alternate now is human labor.
Yeah, human labor, but it's also creating employment.
Yes, but is that very expensive?
No, not expensive.
So again, the expense.
Not expensive.
Yes,
but
because we have a lot of labor in this country.
You see, you're comparing that city to employing X number of people to just buying one product and using it. So costs, the product will be cheaper. The synthetic product that will control the weed will be cheaper for you than if you went and started bringing in people into the farm and all.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. And again, the discussion now revolves around commerce. What we're talking about here is what Martin has mentioned as the synthetic aspect of this business enables you to realize cash quickly.
Yes.
With minimum outlay of capital on these other things. And I'm saying, yes, I get it. But is there no balance where, because we've now gotten into the discussion of should something be capital intensive or labor intensive. Now it's now an economic discussion.
Yeah. And I think also we are sort of getting distracted a bit because essentially it's smallholder farmers who feed Kenya.
Yep.
It's not the large-scale farmers. It's the smallholder farmers who feed Kenya. Over 70% of the food that is consumed in Kenya is sourced from smallholder farmers. So that is who I would rather concentrate on because they are the ones who are consuming most of these synthetic inputs because they are the ones who are applying it. And, the problem has always been you say that this you can use precautionary principle, the PPEs and things like that. I have a farm myself. My neighbor is a conventional farmer.
Yep.
The way I see them doing the work, I try and have a discussion. But you see, it's all about the motivation to get the money as quick as possible, and then you move on. And then you move on. Again, you move on. You see, for me, it's a mindset which somehow, some way, we need to start having these conversations to look at the longer term impacts of the use of these chemicals, because it's really, if you just look at just the basic statistics, and you can actually draw your own conclusions. 24 of the products in Kenya, they are carcinogenic.
Sorry?
Carcinogenic. They cause cancer. 24 products. Yes, they've been proven. 35 are endocrine disruptors. These actually interfere with your hormones, male and female hormones. You don't know how they express itself. 140 products are neurotoxic. You get dizziness, you get the shakes, you get different things. And then 262 products in Kenya, they have been shown to have reproductive impact. This is, I normally mention that particular statistic, and everybody in the room sort of keeps quiet because it actually, you understand why.
Inaweza kusumbua uzazi.
Inasumbua uzazi.
Okay.
Yeah. The moment you mention that one, now people start listening. Yeah. The 262 products. Those are many.
Do I get a sense, Martin, that for this conversation then even to gain more traction, we need to focus on the consumer.
Yes.
Because the consumer is one that creates demand. If that demand from the consumer demands organic, then the farmer will then be motivated to grow organic.
Yeah.
Because if you go and concentrate on the farmer, if the farmer is looking at, this is going to cost me X, this is going to cost me Y, and when I go to the market, it's going to be more expensive anyway to sell my organic than it's going to be to sell the conventional one.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to go with the conventional because market does not mind conventional.
Yes.
What efforts have you made to create consumer awareness on the benefits of organic?
Okay, number one, we have regular outreach activities with communities, especially in farming communities, because they are the first consumers there, and they are the ones who can actually compel the farmers to have more sustainable practices on their farms. We also have campaigns, advocacy campaigns. Right now, we tabled a bill to Parliament on withdrawal of some of these banned substances, which have been banned in Europe, and we want them to also be banned here in Kenya, because it's only fair. If it's not good for them, it's not good for
the
us.
goose is good for the gander.
It's only fair enough. As well, right now we are going into another phase of what you call social media influencing, where we want to leverage the power of social media to try and to inform consumers on how to make the right decision when it comes to their food. Because food is not just about eating, it's about nutrition, it's about safety, it's about health and well-being. It's all about, let thy food be thy medicine. That's a common say. Let thy food be thy medicine. If you're eating poison, probably your life will not be as productive as you might want it to be. If you're eating contaminated, but if you're eating healthy food, you've seen people who have already transformed their lives just because of the food they are eating.
Yeah.
And if you're able to access this healthy food, it's actually...
I'm laughing because it's a double-edged sword. I've seen people who have transformed their lives negatively
because of the food they eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the conversation is always about food. Food. You've had your breakfast, you had your dinner yesterday. If you're so fortunate, your lunch, your snacks. This is all about food. It's all about food, and that's why some of the players are very silent, because eventually you'll have to come to them. You'll have to come to them. The farmers are overlooked in the conversation. What are the farmers saying about it? Nobody wants to feed you poison deliberately.
Yeah.
But they are compelled because of commercial reasons to be able to start to boost productivity on their farm. And that message is being sold over and over again. You've seen the impact of what's it called, subliminal messaging, as you are saying. If you're confronted by the same message over and over again, your perception changes.
Yes.
Yeah, it shifts you. You move the needle a bit, and then eventually you're spewing out the same thing that the message is.
You're radicalized.
It's about ideology, actually.
Martin, thank you very much for joining us. Martin Jeroge is a program officer with the Kenya Organic Agriculture Network. We've been talking about the emerging opportunities in organic agriculture. Joe's Fresh Farm in Kisumu says, I'm a proud organic farmer. Farming organic is plainly food production. I don't do it for money per se, but to produce healthy, safe, nutritious food, not a commodity for financial gain. And Joe's Fresh Farm is usually very, very active and a very good listener of our show. It's good to hear that that's what you're doing, Joe. Asante sana, Martin.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Also, time for us to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. Been with us since the top of the hour. Join us again in November when we'll be back here. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, but it continues on SpiceFM and online up to 10 o'clock. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
On your mark. Set.
The Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon is back. Virtual Marathon and Elite Marathon. Sign up for the virtual race at 1,000 shillings only and run from wherever you are or from select hotspots around Nairobi. To register, visit www.nairobimarathon.com. Choose your preferred distance from 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 21 kilometers, or 42 kilometers, and decide the day you will run between 25th and 31st October 2021. To track your run, download and use the Strava app. When you register, you will receive a race kit that includes a shirt, medal, and bag. Kits will be collected at either KICC or at selected hotspots. All proceeds from the marathon go to help young people learn, earn, and grow through our Future Makers program. Join us and let us run as one. Standard Group are proud to be the official media
Did you know that the
partners of
virtual
the
marathon is actually ongoing? It started on the 25th of October and ends on the 31st. So if you've not done that, you might want to get on that train even now. Strava is the app through which you can, upload your timings, and you can participate in the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon virtually this year for the first time, giving you an opportunity to contribute to the Young Makers program. Folks then have an opportunity to earn, learn, and grow by participating in this year's Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. So get on that. You never know where you could be on the leaderboard.
Indeed, and keep it right here for more conversations coming up in the next hour, wherever you're tuned in, whether on SpiceFM or online. A very good morning to you. It's now 9 a.m. 9.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. The National Assembly's Investments Committee has asked Tourism CS Najib Balala to appear before it to answer to questions about the misuse of funds for the construction of the Ronald Ngala Tourism College in Vipingo in Kilifi County. Committee Chairman Abdul Somad Sharif Nasir questions why the project from 2013 to date has not yet been completed despite adequate funding and set deadlines.
The underfunding has caused this place to be exorbitant cost of building because of the element of interest. We are now realizing that they are planning to finish this on or before June. The rate at which is going and the workmanship is not the problem, but the issue is why the funding did not come in the first place.
Abdul Somad's statement was emphasized by Wajir MP Amin Rashid Kasim.
If it's a Balala who as an individual, who as a CS for tourism is holding this money and yet is not accountable, this money is being held as a private account of the CS Balala, and it's one thing that Kenyans need to know clearly so that the real purpose of this money is known, how it's utilized, how it is going to benefit the other Kenyans, and all those years. Those are close to about 5 years, and that's a lot of money. Each year 3 billion shillings, that amounts to about 15 billion shillings, which is being held at which account?
On August 15th this year, the committee launched an investigation into delays in the construction of the college. The committee, chaired by Narok North MP Moitalela Olekenta, said the project was supposed to cost 4.9 billion shillings, but so far more than 8 billion shillings have been spent. As of August this year, the construction was at 60% despite the expected completion in June 2019. North Mogirango MP Josh Nyamoko has praised the creation of Magwaga sub-county in the constituency. Nyamoko said the opening of the centre would go a long way in reducing crime being reported on a regular basis.
This particular area has been experiencing issues of insecurity, and we want to believe that this will go a long way in ensuring that this social problem is sorted out. We really want to thank the Minister of Interior and by extension the Minister of CS Fred Matiang'i for ensuring at least in this county we get 3 DOs who are going to assist us in this.
Criminal cases have recently been reported, especially shops being broken into and coffee being stolen from various cooperative offices. 800 police officers in the country are unfit to serve in the police service. This is according to the National Police Service Commission, which is conducting a nationwide medical and welfare assessment of police officers. Meanwhile, 59 councillors have been hired to answer to the call of need by officers affected mentally in the line of duty. Speaking during the welfare assessment in Central Region, the National Police Service Commission Vice Chairperson Ali Satohala said that many officers found to be unfit were mostly injured on the job and many not able to serve effectively. Sirisia MP John Waluhe's request that he be allowed to travel out of the country has been denied by the court. Anti-corruption judge Esther Maina rejected the application, saying the legislator is a convict and cannot be allowed to travel outside Kenya. Waluhe wanted to travel to the United States of America for a parliamentary function. The land ownership dispute in Kisagao area, Taita Taveta County, has been resolved after the county government officially launched a program that will see title deeds issued. Taita Taveta Governor Granton Samboja said that time had come for residents to have documents to protect their resources. He made it clear that many citizens continue to be harassed in the area and other parts of the county because of lack of important documents. He also called on all leaders in the county to be role models for the community by ensuring that they solve the problems of their citizens instead of using those problems to realize their political agenda. Now, security forces clashed with protesters furious over a military coup that has derailed Sudan's fragile transition to democracy and sparked an international outcry. At least one protester was killed, according to medics, on the fourth consecutive day of street violence in Khartoum, as the UN Security Council and US President Joe Biden called for restoration of the civilian-led government toppled by the army on Monday. The council, in a unanimously passed statement, expressed serious concern about the army power grab in the Northeast African nation and urged all sides to engage in dialogue without preconditions. And Nigeria's Stallion Sevens and Uganda landed in the country yesterday ahead of the Safari Sevens campaign at Nyeri National Stadiums. Other teams gracing the event include Spain, Zimbabwe and Germany, with tricky matches in the pools announced by the Kenya Rugby Union on Wednesday. The former champions have been drawn against giants Germany, Zimbabwe, and first-timer Stallion Sevens from Nigeria in Pool A. Shuja won the annual international tournament in 2000, 2013 and 2016. The women's tournament has attracted 5 teams and will be played on a round-robin basis. Kenya will field 2 teams, with Zimbabwe, Uganda and South Africa's Titans Rugby Academy rounding off the field. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
What's going on? Still traffic on Bagathi. Hey, Bagathi Way. Guys, what's going on? Everybody is running away from Langata Road, running away from Huru Highway. But even if you run, now you're stuck completely because it's not moving. Gong Road also completely stuck here, especially getting towards the roundabout of the city mortuary. We're looking at that entire Kamkunji area. If we're looking now on the eastern side of the city, Jogo Road feeding off into that. Landis Road did not look pretty from the very beginning of the morning. And we're also seeing still that Uhuru Highway issue, quite something this morning. Coming out of Westlands also starting to build up a little bit. Kiambu Road looking much better at the junctions. Those are going to see a bit of an issue. And the thicker superhighway now then coming in closer and closer past Survey. So it's not too terrible right now. Let's keep watching and seeing how this opens up. It looks like the worst of traffic is over. However, this morning, we'll keep an eye on things. Help us out to do so. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. A few minutes after 9 o'clock. Let's take a look in about half an hour or so and see how that may or may not have changed. All right, text as well. 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
How are you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. If you're just joining us, if you've been with us since the top of the hour, no, the top of the show at 6 a.m., Asante Sana. This is a final show of the month of October 2021. City Muga, today's proverb.
Okay, today's silence. Aelo na.
It was a.
Yeah.
But I've just said aelo a.
City, you said na.
I said a.
Okay. Okay.
Hey. You know, this hearing on Thursdays and Fridays, it must change. Aelo a ngiputiro e jok noi kotere elose alogite. Tell me I've said more than I said previously.
Alogite. You tuliko tumesikia.
Since the warthog lives in the forest, they must make friendship with other animals.
Because a warthog lives in the forest.
Warthog.
Yes, a warthog.
It's a warthog. What is it?
Warthog.
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 So why would you be saying what? And then there's a H.
Yes.
Hog.
Yes.
So it's a warthog. Surely. Tut.
You know, when people have a language, they also don't understand well.
Tasting that you're saying. What?
It is a warthog.
TH is the.
Sheesh.
Okay, warthog.
What?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
All right. So. What?
Sorry.
Okay, good. Good. So, politics season. We are definitely going to see a lot of political rhetoric over this weekend. We have heard a lot of political rhetoric over the last couple of months. Many promises, left, right, and center. Many having been framed. Some trying to frame their conversations into some, buzzwords and still not getting in there, so it's still work in progress. Others started somewhere, they've ended up somewhere. Bottom up, bottom down. There's the hustler narrative. That's on one side. Then there's the revival of the economy on the other side. There's managing our debt. That's Musalia Mudavadi. There's many others who are talking about very many things. City.
You know, the discussions are worthwhile discussions because they all seem to want, or they aim to propagate a similar message, just using different avenues. Both narratives, if I just simplify them and call them narratives, seek to have the listener believe that what is being said will help solve a problem that is considered to be perennial in this country, specifically among young people. One talks about the bottom-up approach. So long as you're calling it an approach, you're calling it a concept, and you're calling it an economic policy, it is fine. So long as you're calling it an empower narrative, it is fine. But the moment you venture into calling it a policy, the moment you venture into giving it technical names like matrix, then that one, you've entered a minefield, and it's unnecessary. Because the message is clear. There are people who need to be encouraged to understand that there is a life outside or inside unemployment. And then there's a message on the other side where people need to understand that even if you're downtrodden, and right now because of COVID, you're not teetering on the verge of poverty, you have gone to newer lows of poverty. You're even poorer than you were before. If you take the view, for instance, that according to international institutions, anyone living below $2 per day is considered poor. $2 a day is just slightly in excess of 200 shillings. Okay. Now, if you do the maths and look at the promise that was attributed to the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, the 6,000, you do the maths, that fits very nicely into 200 shillings per day. So in a month, you have money that you can live with. Now, people have tried to explain it and given all sorts of reasons for it. But what I haven't heard, with the exception of an article that I read in the Business Daily written by Jayindi Kisero, this is not a new concept. People have experimented with it in the West. In America, they've had it for something like 4 decades. Alaska has been doing it for the longest time. Tony Blair experimented with this in 2007. Some of these countries that we say have socialistic leanings have always had it. Now, the purpose of it, if you look at it, is to not give you money indefinitely so that you can say, for the rest of my life, I'll be receiving this money. No. It is to put a halt to the downward spiraling process of poverty that is there. And in a COVID-stricken era like the one we are now in, that downward spiraling process has actually made poverty intense. It's not even intense and extreme. So it's supposed to be, you already poor, you're suffering. This is to halt it. Halt it so that you may be able to pick yourself up and then move out of it. Now, those who practice over time have seen it worked. If you look at countries that have been giving handouts during COVID, you cannot sustain it if it's for life because the country will go bankrupt trying to do it. So the purpose has to be understood and the period for which it is intended. By the way, in this country, I know of a research project that worked with this. I think, if I'm not wrong,
It was in Busia County and Siaya, if I'm not wrong. And if I'm also not wrong, the university that spearheaded this was, I think, Princeton University. At that time, it was a very novel idea. And they were giving up to even 100,000 shillings, 100,000 shillings to a family, not telling you what to do with it. You do what you may with it. No guidelines, here it is. One off. No one's going to ask for it back. The findings were really amazing. The success rate was amazing. People actually managed to get out of the dire situation that they're in because they managed the money. No one was telling them what to do. One of the examples that is often given is in Bangladesh with the project of the phones, the Grameen Bank, Grameen phones. Now, that one is attributed to the concept of the bottom up, meaning you go to the community, the basic structure that you have in that society, and you introduce a product that will help them get out of a situation that they're in or improve their well-being. I am certain that a lot of the sloganeering we hear is for political purposes to popularize an idea. But both of these concepts are actually solid concepts, which if explained and implemented can actually be useful in helping achieve this very same thing. Yes.
The long and short of it, then, is that they are good in terms of the idea.
Yes.
So, what we are saying now is that they're not even at policy stage. Right now, they're just suggestions, they're ideas. If to be carried out to the nth, then we see this is actually something that economies could thrive on because they've been practiced. But it would appear as though they're being thrown to Kenyans without a complete understanding or comprehension of what they could actually do. That there's a promise being made, and you who's making the promise don't actually realize how revolutionary it could be if it was applied properly. Right now, it sounds like something nice to say, this kind of model will be applied, this is what we will do, blah, blah. You don't actually realize what you could be doing in terms of saving an economy, in terms of saving and, buffering the people. You don't really realize that. And that's my issue, that we are throwing things at people because we're in the campaign mood, just saying things that sound intelligent and sound nice or sound comforting without actually realizing the far-reaching impact that this could actually have. And if you did realize it, then the positions which you hold today, you would actually see, or you would actually hope that you would start to implement some of these things now. It's not something that you can say, it's nice for when a particular time will come. Because so far-reaching are the benefits of these things that you have mentioned, these things that you've so adequately described, CT, so far-reaching are the positive effects that it's something that you would want to do now. But it's being dangled as a carrot situation because of the politics that are being involved. So it's so good, it can be done. Why not do it now?
You see, this Kazim Tani is like a stimulus package, something that's supposed to help you again, find something so that you can earn a living and get on with life as opposed to languishing in perennial poverty. The money, I don't know the official title, the money that is given to the elderly.
It's Inua Jamii.
Yes. That one you're given. Okay? Now, that actually halts because there are very many people who once had a living, once were employed. Now, if you can't even make ends meet, that is supposed to assist. But it's not just for the elderly. It's supposed to assist. Remember when we talked to Dr. Luga yesterday, and he told us how they had mapped out this city, for instance, using community health workers. And they understood clearly who the vulnerable communities are, the numbers, where they live. Now, so this is something that was even said when they're talking about giving money out to people who are vulnerable. In the absence of an economic policy that clearly states how this thing is going to be done, how it's going to be funded, how it's going to be worked out, it remains simply that sloganeering.
It's whispers in the wind.
I have a very, very strong sense that what we're hearing from Ruto and Raila is not coming out of the blues. It's actually something that has been worked on, that's somewhere in the files of the government of Kenya. They have basically just gone and picked some proposals and ideas that have been worked on, that have been prepared from end to end, and they've just been sitting somewhere in an office.
not being acted on.
That whole thing of bottom up, of let's support the local enterprises, small enterprises to grow. Let's grow, the microeconomies so then they can become small, medium into large. That must be somewhere in government. There's a plan on what needs to be done. Is it access to capital? Is it access to finance? Is it cheaper access to loans? Is it facilitation into market? Is it marketing assistance? That must be somewhere. This 6,000 shillings increasing, it's basically increasing the Inua Jamii from the current 2,000 a month to 6,000 a month. It's already there. It's already actually being worked. Not just being worked on, it's already being implemented. The Inua Jamii program is the National Safety Net program, which is something that's been rolled out by the government for the last couple of years. And the National Safety Net program, the beneficiaries are 1, orphans and vulnerable children, they get a cash transfer. 2, older persons get a cash transfer. 3, persons with severe disabilities get a cash transfer. And there's a hunger safety net program, a cash transfer as well. 2,000 shillings a month to the orphans and vulnerable, older persons, and the persons with severe disability. Those for hunger safety net get 5,400 every 2 months. It's already being worked on. It's already been rolled out. It has been happening. Now, the actual implementation of it is where I would start by saying, let's audit the impact. Let's audit whether this money has been going out on time. Mm-hmm. Have they been receiving 4,000 shillings every 2 months? Because that is the idea of the program. If you're going to not receive 4,000 shillings every 2 months and then you start receiving 8,000 shillings once a year, all coming at once, does it have the same impact that was intended in the programming?
It doesn't.
If you're supposed to be receiving 5,400 shillings every 2 months, and this is in the hunger safety net, because you've already been mapped out that you are food insecure, and we are supporting you to get yourself access to food. If you don't get that money in every 2 months, is it working? Is it not working? So on paper, the government will tell you, yes, we actually roll out this money. There's X amount of money that goes into Inua Jamii. But then audit it. Is it impactful? Why is it not impactful? Is it because we are not implementing it as we should have? So even now, as we say, there's 6,000 shillings that could be done by a Raila Odinga government that goes out to the same people. The question still comes back to, are you going to be able to do it as has been intended? As the experts sat down and they mapped it out and they designed it. If you don't implement it as designed, useless.
We're back to square one, aren't we?
Back to square one. If Ruto's campaign sails through and Ruto becomes the president and he actually says, so now we are setting up these funds to support the youth across the country. There's what was he saying? 100 billion shillings to support 10 million youth. Yeah. Some funny figures like those. If you don't have it rolling out, of what benefit is it? We've been having the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. It was a brilliant idea in the Kibaki administration.
Yes.
There are those that will say many have accessed this money, many have benefited. It has lifted many out of poverty. It has given them opportunity. But there are many structural issues. Is it accessible? How easily accessible is it? Is the information available? Can the youth just come up with a concept, form a company, and then walk to a nearest office and get access to this money? Or do they have to travel to Nairobi to make their application? With all those things, then you end up not realizing the full potential of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, of the Women's Fund, of the Uwezo Fund, of all these other funds. There are funds even to support micro and small enterprises. If it's not being rolled out properly, forget about telling us about it.
Or even if you don't have an intention to.
Yes.
If you don't have an intention to do it as was designed, then there's not. And this is what I say. Don't tell people. Because do you know how many people right now, do you know what the psyche is at the moment? That there's certain things that are being looked forward to should an individual who's made the promises take up that position. That this is what we are going to get. But then again, it's like, brilliant, Eric, because it's like you're saying, you're going to build something for which you're not following the original design. How do you expect then that building to be functional in any way, shape or form? And if there is a design actually that exists and you're riding on it for the purposes of expediency currently, without an intention to implement, without an intention to follow the prescribed design, then you're wasting time. Wasting your own time and you're wasting the time of the people. But then it becomes clear that you're doing it at the moment for people to pay attention to you now. Are there intentions to actually do this? Because I go back to it again. If you actually do it as designed, the results in terms of development economically would be formidable. Are you taking into consideration just truly the impact that could be realized if these things are actually done in the ways in which they were designed
properly,
to be?
Holistically.
Properly.
You know, the culture of immediacy is something that is going to dog us for the longest time. Because ask yourself, anyone proposing to uplift the poor, to inject incentive among the youth and people who have the energy to be enterprising, and doesn't quite tell you how to do it, and yet in this country there exists a perfect structure that the Constitution has provided. It's called a devolution. Because with devolution, one could actually argue that is the quintessential bottom-up approach. Meaning you want to cascade development and bring it to the level of the person where they need it most. And you've ensured that the leadership gets to that level. And you even have funds that gets to that level. Okay. So it isn't big government giving. The money comes to you. You have it. It's at your disposal. Now it's a question of the very things that we're saying.
Yeah.
But it can't work alone. Because when you're talking about bringing about an economic change, there are other economic factors that you have to consider. You see, when you talk about bottom-up and you talk about basic universal income, there are those who will throw in what you call the trickle-down effect. Now, economic terms can be confusing, and yet they're not complicated. They actually explain a process that if you used, you'd be able to achieve the same thing. But key in this is how do you involve the communities to ensure that they internalize this information and that they then own it. Because what our people own, if we looked at the outcome of all these funds that were given for the youth, for the hungry, and for when COVID first hit us and we were trying to sort this out, funds, yes, would eventually get to those who were intended to receive it.
Yeah.
But there were always these crooked Kenyans who would insert a pipeline into that system to ensure that some of that money ends up with them.
Yep.
This same kazi mtaani, same thing happening again. So essentially, even before we go to that larger scheme, we already have a situation where the intended purpose is not fully achieved because the people who are supposed to ensure that they implement it at that bottom level, if I may use that term, are the ones who are actually even subverting it.
Yep.
Indeed.
Many of the programs that we see, being planned and being announced by the government are usually beautiful programs.
And very well thought out.
If they could actually just be implemented properly. I think we suffer the fact that we implement things in piecemeal, and just because you've done something small, then that is what you're going to run with and say, we have really achieved. I go back to the example of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. Yes, there are thousands of youth groups that have benefited by accessing the money. Now, if you follow back into, so those that went and borrowed the money and were able to repay, are those enterprises still thriving?
Today.
Have they grown? Have they been able to scale? If you now look at that and show us the success rate, we can say yes. But if we say, since we established the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, we've been able to loan out 100 billion shillings. All right.
Then
what's the impact of that? We have free primary education, for example, that was rolled out. Brilliant. And it had an impact of bringing the children to school. It needed to be supported with everything else. Infrastructure development that was to go at a certain pace. Have we seen infrastructure development in our schools in the last, 2002 to now, 18 years? Have we seen infrastructure development that would go with the fact that there's a policy that every child should go to school? Basic education is guaranteed. The government is actually funding it?
So,
Do we have teachers to support this? If they don't go together, we just implement things piecemeal and say all our children are now transitioning from primary to secondary, 100% transition.
In school, that's it.
And that's what we say that is our success.
Because they're in school. Because success must be.
Because it's been said.
Because it's been said.
It's got to be pegged to more. Because that's it. That's what you're saying then. Because if in the beginning you had a loan fund which was not just to give out money, but you wanted to see that there was impact.
Yes.
That there are thriving businesses, that there are thriving livelihoods under sustainability. That's the impact. That's
the whole idea.
The idea from the beginning. This giving of the money was the conduit for that to happen. So if you cannot then measure later and evaluate and say, all right, this sustainability is happening, people are thriving, people have gotten themselves out of the rut of poverty, this thing is a success. If you can't do that, then it's useless. Here you are. Is it just to put bodies in a classroom and have them? Or are you trying to say that we will make sure everything they need in order to be educated then will be made possible? Again, without that.
Without showing that.
This free primary education, again, this free, saying everybody go, again, is a conduit to the end result. If you can't show for that, then it's useless. It doesn't make sense. And I think that this is the kind of interrogation that needs to happen when these promises are being flung out. And I'm telling you, it doesn't need the highest levels of academia to figure it out. It doesn't. That you can think about this thing and say, hold on a minute. Here I'm being promised 6,000 shillings. Why am I being promised 6,000 shillings? Is it to have my vote today? Or truly, is it on towards sustainability? That I can then have this 200 shillings per day and I can feed my family 1, 2, 3. Okay.
And then I can do something that with that money.
With the extra, I can
because
do
you see
something.
that the pilot project that you're telling us, the whole impact of it was that these people stopped depending on the money.
So that you don't eliminate
they had
some of
the
these
money
other
that
things
they
that
used to
constantly
do something that now they stopped being dependent on the money coming in.
So then to have people interrogate that is what we need. If you interrogate and the simple answer is that it cannot be sustained because it's not falling back on a model or a policy, then you can very well say no to it.
You know, the global startup industry, there's so many, especially in the tech world, the startups. There's something that they also recognize. Companies that are called unicorns. This is a startup that grew, that scaled, that got to a certain level where it's now a big organization. They're unicorns. Either a youth enterprise development fund, do we have unicorns? Can we be told that this small organization started as an idea by several youth? They accessed money from the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. They grew, they scaled. Now, they are a unicorn. Do we have unicorns in this country? Those are the questions that we ask ourselves. It's 9:30. Let's see how the weather looks like and get some traffic update, and then we continue the conversations. We'll be opening up the phone lines for you. So we have all these election promises and pledges. There's a bottom-up approach and all the associated pledges with it. There's Raila Odinga's promises, 6,000. What are you calling it, City?
The basic universal income.
Basic universal income and others. Which one makes sense? And how do we make them make sense? Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. "24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
The FKF Premier League enters the 5th round this week. We bring you the best of Kenyan football. On Wednesday 27th, Kariobangi Sharks versus Gor Mahia. On Friday 29th, FC Leopards versus Ulinzi Stars. On Saturday 30th, Gor Mahia versus Sofapaka. And on Sunday 31st, Mathare United versus Kariobangi Sharks. Catch all matches exclusively on BTV, Channel 172 on aerial decoder and 463 on satellite, live at 1 p.m. Get connected to StarTimes for only 999 shillings on aerial decoder or 2,699 shillings on satellite. StarTimes, the official broadcaster of the FKF Premier League.
On your mark. Set.
Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon is back. Virtual Marathon and Elite Marathon. Sign up for the virtual race at 1,000 shillings only and run from wherever you are or from select hotspots around Nairobi. To register, visit www.nairobimarathon.com. Choose your preferred distance from 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 21 kilometers, or 42 kilometers and decide the day you will run between 25th and 31st October 2021. To track your run, download and use the Strava app. When you register, you will receive a race kit that includes a shirt, medal, and bag. Kits will be collected at either KICC or at selected hotspots. All proceeds from the marathon go to help young people learn, earn, and grow through our Future Makers program.
It's sunny at 18 in Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 15. Sunny conditions in Nakuru at 20. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 15. Nyeri will also see a low of 15 today, highs of 25 and mostly cloudy at 19. And Eldoret is mostly cloudy at 18, highs of 25 and lows of 14. It's still raining in some parts of Mombasa at 29 with highs of 31. We'll see lows of 24, while Malindi is partly sunny at 28. It'll go to highs of 30 and lows of 26. In Kisumu, mostly cloudy at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 19. While in Kakamega, it's mostly cloudy at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 16. Kampala is sunny at 24, highs of 28 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam light rain now at 29, highs of 30 and lows of 25. Johannesburg is cloudy at 14, we'll see lows of 12 and highs of 22. While in Lagos, it's mostly sunny at 24, it'll go to highs of 32. 31 will be the high in Kinshasa today, where it's partly sunny at 22. And out in Beijing, sunny going into Friday afternoon. We'll see highs of 19 and lows of 6. Paris is clear at 11, highs of 15. And London is rainy at 13, highs of 16 and lows of 12. New York is coming into Friday morning at 12 degrees, cloudy. Into Friday afternoon, highs of 13 and lows of 11.
Spice and everything nice, everything nice.
Spice up your life.
All right, still continues on Uhuru Highway this morning, and it's feeding off from Gong Road, also from Mombasa Road, and also other parts of the city. Coming in from Landis is still quite heavy this morning, guys. At that Kamkunji Road roundabout still an issue. We'll see some traffic heavy in the CBD, and that nook right on the Thika Superhighway with Kiambu Road today looks still a little bit messy at this time. Keep an eye on things, but most roads dying down from the early morning traffic today, looking a lot better on Langata Road today. Keep an eye on things through the morning and into Friday afternoon on SpiceFM KE on Twitter, and keep texting on 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
My mic is off. 8:23 minutes to 10. Very good morning to you. So let's continue the conversation. Bottom up. Again, hold it.
National?
No. It's
Universal?
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income.
Yes.
Okay.
UBI.
But is it universal though? This one is not.
Well, the universal basic income is the 6,000, what do you call it, the 6,000 project. And there are countries where it is referred to as dole. Remember how in many Western countries, if you are unemployed, there was a pick-me-up they gave you to help you survive. That's a universal basic income.
Okay.
There are those who refer to it as money for doing nothing. Actually, it isn't. It can't be money for doing. It's money for being poor. You are doing something.
It's poverty. It's a poverty income.
It's a poverty income. It's supposed to halt it, meaning it won't finish it, but that downward spiraling effect where you now become destitute, you halt it so that at least you can think.
It supports.
Yes, and you know at least I can do this and do that and do the other.
Yeah. So it's basically the Inua Jamii that's currently there.
In fact, that is
just
a good term.
it.
That Inua Jamii. It was a good term. Whoever coined. You see, but this is why I think what you're saying is absolutely true. Those who came up with that term knew this one is needed.
And you're supporting the vulnerable.
Yes.
So first of all, you go for the elderly. Those are the people who are above 70. Support them with 2,000 shillings every month. And then you go to the people who are living with severe disability. Support them with 2,000 every month. Go to the people who are orphans and such. Support them as well. And then look at people who are food insecure and give them money to purchase food.
Is that not a well thought out thing?
That is brilliant. It's been there. Now, it's been there. We have spoken to people who've called in here. And they've... What's a lady who calls with cerebral palsy? Remember?
Jerry. Yes.
Jerry.
Yes.
And she was telling us about this. The whole journey of qualifying for this support to get to that level where then you're recognized as somebody who is living with severe disability. So first definition of severe disability. Oh, it's not universally understood what severe disability is. The next thing and the other. So you end up now finding a very good program being mismanaged at implementation stage, such that the people who are supposed to be benefiting from it are not benefiting from it. The second thing is, are you sending this money as you should have been sending the money? They should be receiving, for example, the elderly and the orphans and the person with severe disability should be receiving 4,000 shillings every 2 months. 4,000 bob. They haven't been receiving 4,000 shillings every 2 months. So does it go with the plan of this whole program? Now, even if we triple this to 6,000 shillings and it still does not come out the way it should be implemented,
you might as well not start.
You see, that's a problem. But it's a brilliant thing.
Eric, let me ask the question. The money is supposed to come from the government directly to that individual, isn't it?
Yeah, they have actually supposed to open a bank account. They've opened bank accounts. So they have bank accounts in several banks. The money goes straight to your bank account.
It's the only way it can work.
Yes.
And then now the person now goes to withdraw that money.
Yes.
It's a cash transfer program.
It is
direct.
The only way it can work. You know, earlier on, remember we were talking about recognizing the feats of our fellow Kenyans, most of the athletes. If you look at sports, not athletics, just sports in general, one of the biggest roadblocks is what you call the administrator. Somebody wants to give money for a sport. Then there are these fellows in the middle who don't play any sport whatsoever.
Yes.
They are not even sports managers. They're not even people who are a cog in that wheel. They're just there.
Yeah.
All the problems you hear, money went this way, money didn't go that way, it is them. Okay? Now, if a way could be found where people who can be relied on, okay, this is money that has been given to this sport, and this is the way it goes. People who know this will be bought, this will be done.
Yes.
So the sports person just does what they do, and this professional individual does it. But the moment you have some government officials use some word,
some layer somewhere.
That's it.
It's the same thing that happened with supporting vulnerable communities, especially with food grants.
Yeah.
So you'd find many of the donor organizations like the former DFID is now called what? UK Aid is now under the
development.
So they would give the money through the government. The government buys food and then distributes the food to the people. You can just see. So the people who are supposed to be receiving money were not receiving the food that they should have been receiving. And then also there is the impact to the local economy. So the whole idea of let's inject support to the entire economy by giving the people cash.
Better plan.
Now, how do we even manage then that distribution of the money? Came up with another one. You actually now have sort of like a SIM card, which is a mobile wallet. You know, there's certain shop there. That shopkeeper is on who's being supported by this program. You shall go with your mobile wallet and it shall be swiped and you shall pick several items. Works brilliantly.
It does, doesn't it?
So the donors moved away from government and they said we are working directly with the community.
To the community.
You know why? The experience.
Because of those individuals that you said are there in the middle and have no idea what's going on. Circumvent that entire channel.
Go straight to the beneficiary.
Straight to the people.
Works better, doesn't it?
Indeed.
Go straight to the beneficiary. And now you can say, they look back and they say, all right, so this community, we were supporting this community. What did we end up doing? We ended up making sure that there's food being transported to this area. The local businesses were still in business, and the communities that needed to benefit were benefiting. So we've supported them. And now it's not only to buy food. There's in that wallet, there's X amount for food, X amount for health services, X amount for you can use to buy
Utilities,
to
power,
other utilities. So you've supported the whole ecosystem. Worked.
Eric, do you know how what you've just said, that concept, it's not just in supporting the vulnerable, even in healthcare.
Yep.
The reason why you ended up having NGOs and other organizations that deal with health participating in the process of care and treatment was for that reason. Money would come to government. God Almighty is the one who knows where that money would go. But it didn't end up doing what it was supposed to do. So they figured, look, why don't we deal with people who are already working in these communities, conducting research? They already know what they're doing. And after all, if it's medical research, it's far more rigorous than just treating people.
Yeah.
Why don't we give the money to them? The success we see was now the health system had these individuals supporting them, but they're the ones who are actually doing the care and treat, and the money was coming to them directly. Not from government to them. The moment it is government to them, well, your guess is as good as mine as to
what happens
in that particular program. Yes, because individuals within the system will ensure that money goes anywhere and everywhere except what it is intended for.
So this is something that is known because we're not postulating here. This is something that is known.
No.
Right?
It's just a simple fact.
It's just how it happens. So this is my issue then. That if everybody knows this is how it works, you still come and make a promise to people that this is what we're going to do, knowing full well historically how things are. Many of your generals are actually in the system and doing the same things. Why would you do this, knowing full well, in political expediency aside, knowing full well that your ability to promise, beautiful, your ability to deliver because of these factors is close to zero? That's my problem.
You know what you're saying, you're saying it anecdotally, but anecdotally one also hears, I don't have proof of it, but one hears that people in authority and power actually lay out budgets based on what can be siphoned from the system.
Yep.
It's budgeted for in the beginning.
Yes, so even when you are given a position for which you're amply qualified, the real qualification is whether you can extract these monies that are required of you so that you can extract it and give it to whoever it is that you consider your principal. As I said, now, how then do you trust that if money is put aside for such an enterprise? We saw what happened in the youth fund. Man, that thing was a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful plan. Now, imagine if it had been implemented. These discussions we're having it,
about youth employment.
Yes.
We're talking about 17 years of a youth fund.
Yes.
Youth employment would not be...
The discussion would be different.
The whole issue of the Jubilee government coming and promising how many million jobs a year?
500,000, was it?
A million or something.
There's a million. Oh, then they went to a million,
I will look at that.
500,000 is a figment of my
in the Standard
imagination.
today. It's in the, among the promises made by the president. You were reading that story earlier.
Yes, we did. It was in the Standard.
It was page 4.
Yes.
Page 4 in the Standard. The promises. Job creation, 1.3 million jobs every year.
Oui.
Right? 1.3 million was the promise of the Jubilee administration. Every year. With this, let me tell you, on paper, they're brilliant. And even they go ahead and even start implementing them. So, for example, the Jubilee administration, credit to them, when they took over, they said they rolled out a policy and it became a government policy. 30% of all government procurement shall be reserved to women, youth, and persons with disability.
You know, they actually did it.
Brilliant. It's there. That is the law. Any procurement, and you must demonstrate how that 30% has actually gone to benefit youth, women, persons with disabilities.
Disability, indeed.
They even came up with AGPO, where you go in as any of these vulnerable groups and register. So you get this certificate, and with that certificate, you then can put in your tender. The question that we need to ask today is, how many actual beneficiaries of this program are youth, women, and persons with disability?
And when it started, has it been maintained?
Yeah.
Has it been sustained?
Has it actually come to pass that this is what is happening? Because with that, just 10 years, we could be getting there. We could be talking about, all right, because of this policy, because of the others that we've rolled out, because of having a national employment authority, because of having a youth enterprise development fund, because of having a women's fund, because of having an Uwezo fund, all those monies being accessible to young people and women and persons with disabilities to start and run businesses. Job creation. We'd have ticked that box a long time ago.
So essentially, we're saying the conversation ought to be, look, folks, with the policies we have, let us tell you how we're going to implement them.
How can we implement what is there?
With what we have
Not
right now.
Not reinvent the wheel.
Yes. With what we have
We
right
already
now.
have these things.
We already have a gathering dust situation of policies that have been put in the back burner. So with what you have today, with what I have right now, is that not the question? Look, think about it like this. When you're going through your, financial renaissance or whatever, what is one of the first questions that you're asked? With what you currently have, what are you trying to do? Before you even start to look for additional sources of income, before you try to now balance this or the other, what are you able to achieve with what you have in your hand? How are you managing what you have? What do you have in your hand? Is often the question that you're asked. So that should be it. With what we've already been able to develop and we didn't actually implement, with what we have at our disposal today, this is what we will do, and this is how we can then multiply it onto something else. Anybody who's not telling you that, anybody who's not giving you a reform in terms of what has been happening historically, forget it.
Forget it. Ruto comes in and says he wants to set up a new fund. And I'm just sitting there wondering, why do we need to have a new fund?
Yeah.
We don't need to have a new fund. We need to look at Youth Enterprise Development Fund. There's a structure. Can we expand that structure? Can we make sure that Youth Enterprise Development Fund is available across the country?
Can you look at what maybe went wrong?
The local chief or the local Huduma Center or the whatever, it's going all the way down so people can access what is not working. Can we fix it?
You know, I was gobstopped yesterday, if I may give an example of just what you're saying, when Dr. Umoluga was telling us about the 10 key projects.
Yes.
You know, that thing just blew my mind completely. I looked at the amount and I said, I had to ask, repeat that again, please.
Yeah. He said 800 and what million?
840 million.
It called 840 million to put up those health facilities.
To put up,
Yes.
840 million for 24 facilities.
Yes. Equipped, not buildings.
Equipped. Fully equipped as per standard. And the standard is not just what they are thinking of.
No.
It is policy that's there at the Ministry of Health. Just take it and say, so
It
a level
existed.
2 hospital, what does it require? What kind of equipment does it require? Okay, so that's what we want for this, a level 2 hospital. Level 3, level 4, this is what they require.
So there is an example of exactly what you were talking about, because he's told us right now, they didn't come up with a new policy.
No.
They didn't hire people and say, develop
Go
policy.
and do a study.
It
No,
was
they
existing at the Ministry of Health. So this was an idea that has been there for yonks, God knows only how long.
It's been there.
It's been there. So they say, okay, this thing is brilliant. Bring it.
In addition to that, where are we going to put up these health facilities? Oh, there's a team that's actually been working on this. It's called the Nairobi Regeneration Project.
Yes.
They have gone around and they've seen. So disease burden and where are people coming from when they go to Kenyatta? So the
And what
greatest
are they
need for
coming
health
with?
services is here. And this is what the disease burden in this region is.
So we
let's
put
set
a
up
level 2 here.
Level 2.
And this is the burden, so we put 3B here because we need more.
And secondly, these people are these numbers, so let's put 2 as opposed to 1. Yes. Now you tell me.
Then you want to come and reinvent, not even reinvent.
Someone is going to come and
come
tell you
with a new fund.
something brand new.
Fact finding. What is that other group that they call
Task
force? Yes. So that one. For what?
Commission a study, bring in some international
Stakeholder
blah, blah,
engagement.
blah, blah, blah.
That has been done.
Things, we already have solutions. There are people who work in government and that's their job.
And they've been doing it well.
And they've been doing it very well. It's there. What is it that we're talking about? How to make sure that micro and small businesses are doing well in this country. My friend, don't come up with a new fund.
What you need is not a new
Don't.
fund.
Tell us how you want to implement what we already know we
What
have.
you need to do is get the thing that you have working.
Yes,
That's it. You don't need a new one. You don't need a new idea. You don't need new people. You don't need no. You need to look at what you have and tell us how you're going to make work what you have. I'm going to say it again. Anybody who is not telling, and it will not be difficult to decipher whether somebody is telling you the truth or not.
Yeah.
with what we have, this is what we are going to do. It's very, very easy to spot somebody who is not telling you the truth. So for now, anybody who does not have a reform agenda right now for the things that are already established and were not working, anybody who is not reforming what already exists is joking. And anybody who's telling you that, I dare say, take it, put it together, and toss it out the window. Because it's not going to work.
Something like the managed equipment scheme. The managed equipment scheme had been thought out by people in the health ministry. Okay? What is our problem? We have a problem with equipment. We have a problem with the regular breaking down of equipment, and then it takes forever to get them repaired. How about working directly with the manufacturer?
Yes.
To equip that.
Yes.
And to manage it.
Yes.
Okay? On paper, that was the plan. And then how about identifying what equipment is needed where? An audit is done. This is what is required. Then at implementation, someone says, this is an opportunity for me to make money. And it goes haywire. It just seconds south. So a brilliant plan that's been there is taken and implemented in the wrong way such that it becomes a complete and total flop.
And it doesn't achieve anything that was intended or purpose.
Yep. Now you want to come and tell us what you're going to do with healthcare. Come just and tell us, we have equipment already sitting somewhere. Can you take that and start redistributing?
Do you remember the containers that came?
At the clinics.
Are they still sitting at Madari?
Yeah. But I don't know whether they're still at Madari. Remember
but the story of them ever being put to use. By the way, the length of time they're taken at the port and then at Madari, whether they were able to be put to good use was now in serious doubt.
That's it.
And they were paid for.
That's it.
And they were supposed to help improve the health of Kenyans. Now you tell me. The other day we were being told about products that had expired at Kemsa. But you know my view on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gumboots that expired.
Yes.
And gloves.
Had expired.
And plastic
face shields.
Plastic had expired.
Yeah.
Yes.
As I said, they didn't expire. They had disappeared.
Or they were there in the first place.
Yes.
Right now we are talking about even giving job opportunities to Kenyans. So, yes, we have an opportunity to take Kenyan nurses to work in the UK. How many? 200,000 Kenyan nurses in 3 years. We've already started bungling it. Oh, they don't know English. Oh, they can't speak English.
And
and
every exam, with the exception of Kiswahili.
Sorry, but if you're a nurse, there's some rigorous stuff that you've been through to be able to get to that level of qualification, for goodness sake.
And it's a degree, by the way. It's not a diploma. It's a degree nurse.
But let me tell you something. There's again, you ask yourself, are we talking about the problems that these individuals who are nurses have, or are we talking about a problem between the ministry that deals with labor and the ministry that deals with health? What really is the problem here?
It's a game between those two.
It's a game, man. And those who are caught in the middle are now these folks.
It's a game between those two. And we're delaying the opportunity for our people.
An exam that every exam they've sat for in their lives has been in the English language, except when they sat for Kiswahili.
And all they need, by the way, so you can give them an orientation. So this is what the exam is all about. The test is like this, this, and the other. Prepare for this, this, and the other. You just need to tell someone that.
That's it.
And they'll prepare for the test.
Kenyans are used to preparing for exams.
Are you forgetting that Kenyans do exams for those people in the UK?
They even write papers and
they write papers
degrees.
For the UK.
Not degrees, masters PhD.
Yes, indeed.
Same people who went to the same schools. You know, it's not as though they went to some other institutions. Same institution.
Same.
You know, the people in leadership who perpetrate what we're discussing here. I'm trying to say what I want to say in the nicest, politest way possible, because I know I'm on radio. When you talk to citizens and they tell you what they think of their leaders, remember when we asked the citizens and asked them, tell us about your leader and what you think. How many did we hear? How many called to say that they were in praise and support of their leaders?
Just a few.
Yeah. The vast majority were of the view, you know something? Just please,
since we can't kick you out before 2022, just finish.
You just finish.
And go. Exasperation.
We are done.
And we're seeing it playing out now with voter registration. Are we
Yep.
not?
Yep. It's an indication of the same.
Yes.
I don't really care. Let's conclude this month with the day's proverb.
Aelo a gipu tiro ejo noi kotere elose alokite. Since the warthog lives in the forest, they must make friendship with other animals. Who also live in that forest?
Yep.
Other animals.
Yep. Learn to live with others.
Yes, very simply. Something that our leaders need to be cognizant of. Learning to live with others. Not with themselves.
Yes.
Others who are not themselves.
Thank you for tuning in to the Situation Room this month of October. We'll be back in November.
We'll be gone till November.
Gone till November. All right. So those who are participating in the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon, all the best. Good luck. If you're doing the virtual run, please make sure that you log in your timing so you can get into the leaderboard. And then those who are participating on Sunday, good luck as well. So the Southern Bypass is going to be closed on Sunday morning for the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. That's true?
Indeed, it is.
Okay.
Until the last person clocks in.
All right. All the best, people. Have a lovely weekend. This is the Kenya's Biggest Conversation. We'll be back next month. It's now 10 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.